On the street, a man being filmed on camera addresses passers-by. He asks what they would do if they suddenly received 100 million won. The girl says that you can't buy a house for that kind of money. The man thinks that he would probably buy a new car. Another girl says she would put it all in a savings account. Then the man with the microphone asks passers-by what would happen if they became the richest people on the planet. The man finds it difficult to answer. The girl thinks that maybe she would spend the rest of her life doing nothing. The other girl would first like to know how to become so rich. These were some of the answers. The man asking these questions is the first and youngest Korean to be officially recognized as the richest man, and the host asks him to share a secret. There are even rumors that he sees the future. He says this doesn't happen, but at the same time he sees something. In the studio, besides the film crew, there is someone else who is visible only to him. This is a woman wearing clothes that look like an Indian costume. An eagle sits on her staff. He takes off. The richest man watches the eagle fly in radiance. He is just an ordinary investor who got lucky. Eugene Price was once an unemployed man recently returned from service. For some reason, the eagle from the army keeps appearing in his dreams. He ruined such a good dream for him. Eugene lived in a small basement one-room apartment with his mother. But life wasn't always so harsh. He had a father who owned a profitable business, and a mother who now makes a living by any means necessary, but was always kind and elegant, like a flower. With such parents, he grew up as if in a greenhouse. Eugene visits his friend Terry, who collects figurines, and finds that his life hasn't changed one bit. He objects that his collection has doubled in size, but he had a ton of figurines from school. It's hard to see the difference. Terry says Eugene is still as absent-minded as ever. Eugene says that Terry, although poor, has a good education, which allows him to work as a tutor and make life easier for his parents. Eugene will probably put the issue of higher education on hold for a while. He thanks Terry for spending time with Eugene's mother on New Year's Eve, and Terry says she's a mother to him too. He asks how Eugene's service went, and he remarks that there's not much to talk about with someone who's been released from the army. For some reason, Terry asks if Eugene wants to be even more jealous. He found the code word for a Bantacoin wallet, sold his character in Lutnia, and received cryptocurrency in exchange. Eugene remembers that this character rose in price to 50 million won. Terry said that his life was over when he lost it. He discovered it while cleaning out his toy box. Yesterday, this figurine cost $1,120. At today's exchange rate, $1 is approximately 1,101. It turns out to be almost 1.5 million. $1,120 is the price for one Bantcoin. So if Terry has 11,000 Bantacoins, that's 13.5 billion won. If Eugene is jealous, let him just admit it. Terry also had a hard time processing everything, but it's true. He's so shocked that he can't even feel happy. Eugene asks to give him 100 million, Terry refuses. He has already put part of it up for sale through an exchanger. At this rate, the price will even rise further. If Eugene knew, he would play games harder. He played with him, and Terry sold his character then. He demands his share back. Terry asks how much it is. Eugene tries to remember. Then he sees something from the window. This is the same eagle. This is far from the first time Eugene has seen him. The eagle takes off and flies straight into Terry's room. He is surrounded by a fiery glow. Eugene sees plumes of fire appearing on the wall. They begin to turn into letters. Terry asks what's wrong. Eugene, in turn, asks if Terry knows what Mountain Hill is. This is the exchanger where Terry currently keeps his banknotes. Eugene asks if he is safe, if there are any rumors of an impending bankruptcy, and the words Mountain Hill and bankruptcy appear in front of him from the glow. Eugene saw this eagle in letters in the army. Maybe this isn't a hallucination and it's all real. Eugene tells Terry to sell all the Bantacoins. He can't explain it. Let Terry just believe him. Terry agrees. He was going to sell them anyway. But after that, Eugene has to explain everything to him. The vision disappeared. Eugene wonders how he could know the name of an exchanger he has never even heard of. Perhaps he caught it somewhere before. Suddenly Terry discovers something. Mountain Hill's servers just crashed. Eugene asks what's wrong with the coins. Terry sold them at the last minute. Now he will find out what the problem is. It might just be maintenance. It turns out that the servers are turned on, but all users' accounts are empty. Terry asks what's going on. Eugene promised to tell him the truth. He doesn't know what to say. Terry asks not to keep him in suspense and to tell the story. Eugene says he thinks he has gained the ability to see the future. A year ago in the army, he was at a mortar firing range. He was asked to stop being so careless and listen carefully. Suddenly, Eugene saw an eagle. He rose from the tree and flew towards him. A glow flashed before Eugene. He asked the other soldiers if they had seen the eagle. It just flew over their heads, but no one saw anything. Eugene couldn't understand how it was possible to miss such a colossus. Suddenly he saw in the glow the inscription KM-188 explosion. Eugene thought it might be augmented reality technology, But that wasn't the case in training. Meanwhile, that very mine was being prepared for launch. When a person instinctively feels that his life is in danger, the body reacts faster than the mind. Eugene ordered the soldiers to lie down, and the mine exploded. Eugene told Terry about this. He says he was very lucky. Even though he was so close, he wasn't hurt. There were casualties in this accident, but thanks to a cryptic warning, Eugene survived. The doctor said the trauma from the accident caused some memory distortions. In any case, if Eugene experienced this twice, it's no longer a coincidence. It's a superpower. Eugene asks why Terry believes this so easily. Eugene shouldn't forget the mindset that anime instilled in him. Even if a cute elf appeared in front of Terry now, he would believe it. Eugene suggests getting down to business. His share is about 1.5 billion won. When Terry sold his character in Lutenia, he also sold the low-level character Eugene. And of the 11,000 band coins he received, 1,000 was for Eugene, about 9% of his 13.5 billion. Eugene threatens to burn all of Terry's figurines if he doesn't give him the money. He says that Eugene didn't want to give him his character, and even if Terry wanted to give him a share now, there would be problems with taxes. Eugene thinks that Terry wants to create an offshore zone or something like that. He asks how he knows this, Eugene says, because he plans to become an economist. Terry's sister said the taxes on the sale of Banth coins could be in the billions. Therefore, he created an offshore group on Della Island in the USA and registered the OTK company there. In any case, now all that was left was to enjoy the life of an eternal slacker, Eugene thought. Terry had always done this. It must be hard to live selling game items. It's not easy to make a living doing this. Terry says that out of the 13.5 billion, Eugene will get his 1.5. He promises that he will definitely translate them for him. So on the day he finished his service, thanks to a strange premonition and a slightly naive but devoted friend, Eugene received 1.5 billion won. Before this, Terry reminded that he could not give the entire amount at once. Eugene knew the money Terry was giving him was a gift. So once they left the offshore zone and got to Korea, they would be taxed at 20%. And the larger the amount, the more progressive the tax rate. At first, Terry was going to send 500 million, and then he would find a way through his sister to transfer the remaining 740 million. Eugene thinks about what to do with this money first. Maybe give his mother some time off from work and buy her some new clothes. He enters the department store. Then he hears some woman loudly complaining about why the cleaning lady is poking her with a dirty rag. The customer demands that she kneel and apologize right now before she leaves a complaint on the store's website. Some of those gathered find it hard to believe that such people still exist. The customer says that even if the cleaning lady washed the floors 1,000 times, she still wouldn't have saved up for these shoes. The store manager apologizes. He tells the cleaning lady to get on her knees. Eugene can't believe his eyes. This is his mother. The customer asks whether she will kneel or pay for the shoes. The manager demands that she apologize to the client immediately if she doesn't want to be fired. Eugene's mother told him she worked in a department store call center. She is going to kneel, but Eugene holds her hand. He asks the customer what could be so important that she would make someone kneel. She is indignant. Who is he to interfere? Is he really his son? Eugene answers in the affirmative. His mother says this young man doesn't know her. Eugene asks if she's ashamed of him. He is not ashamed of her. Eugene asks what's going on here. The customer says that the woman hit her shoe with her mop. Just because of this, she made someone's mother get on her knees. The customer says these shoes cost a whopping 600,000 won. Eugene hands her 600,000. Let her either apologize to his mother, take the money and leave, or let him take his precious shoes and leave with nothing. They're filming it now. It would be better to at least take the money. Maybe he should throw them on the ground for her to pick up. Let her kneel down. The customer asks for forgiveness. She takes the money and starts counting it. Eugene approaches the manager. He asks to take care of taking the shoes from this lady. They were bought with his money. If Eugene doesn't see the shoes tomorrow, he'll report them stolen. He invites his mother to go with him. The customer asks why he should be so petty. He won't even wear those shoes. Eugene says he really doesn't need them. He'll throw them in the trash tomorrow. He adds, "Thanks for the advice, old woman." The customer screams that she is not some old woman. The manager asks her to calm down. Outside, Eugene's mother tells him that if she talks to them now, she might be able to fix everything. This is the first time something like this has happened today. Eugene asks, since when did she become so thin? His mother says she feels fine. She doesn't have to work where she's treated like that. He'll take care of everything. It's amazing how her son managed to grow up so much. They come to the restaurant. Eugene's mother asks what kind of Bantacoin it is and why it is so expensive. Eugene suggests that it be considered a game item. No need to worry about university fees. Now he can take care of himself. Eugene's mother says she has already put aside enough money for his education, so she needs to focus on him. and that this money should be saved and invested in the future. Eugene will think about it later. For starters, he suggests moving. It seems to him that his mother coughs because of the apartment where they live. She asks to stop worrying about it. Eugene says it's his money and he'll spend it on something worthwhile. He is stubborn like his father. Then Eugene gets a call from Terry. He has something urgent. Eugene says he is having dinner with his mother. Sister Terry returned to Korea. Friends arrive at the hotel where she is staying. Terry's car is painted with anime characters. Eugene feels awkward. He told them to drop him off on the street. He asks Terry not to drag him into her world. They were 3 minutes late. Terry's sister, Helen, hadn't seen Eugene for a long time. She asks if he has completed his military service and resumed his studies. Helen invites him to work with her at Golden Gate after university, but Eugene doubts that the global investment bank will hire him. He thinks Helen is worried about something. She heard that Mountain Hill had filed for bankruptcy. Luckily, Terry managed to sell everything before that. After that, he invested part of it into the OTK company account, about $250,000. Helen gives Terry the contact information for the manager of the Golden Gate branch in Gangnam. If he needs to transfer a large sum of money to an internal account, let him contact him. You just need to say that he is Helen's younger brother. Terry said that he would sell gradually. She wonders why he suddenly sold everything at once. Terry says that he felt the urge to do so. Eugene asks if Helen came because of her brother. She says that she came to conduct an audit of the company that buys them, so she will be here for about 10 days. Terry is surprised by this. Helen asks if maybe there is something he doesn't like. He says he's just really happy and asks where Helen decided to spend the night. She replies, "Up here." The entire audit team stays here, paid for by the company. It's at least 500,000 won a night. The global investment bank is clearly on another level. Helen needs to answer the phone. Terry thinks Helen is kind of angry. Eugene says it's because of him. Terry wonders what he did. Helen returns and thanks them for waiting for her. There is a lot of turmoil now because of the upcoming OPEC meeting. Terry thinks it's some kind of international organization. Maybe he doesn't know anything, but at least he understands that O is an organization. This is a group of oil-producing countries, or more precisely, oil-exporting countries. The results of the OPEC meeting will be announced the day after tomorrow. Here, Eugene sees the eagle again. It flies over him. Eugene sees some writing again. This time it says OPEC, production cuts. Helen asks Eugene if he is okay. Eugene says he's just lost in thought. Helen thinks he's tired because of Terry. He asks what the OPEC meeting will be about. Helen says they're in Kuwait now for a meeting about cutting oil production. If financial assets are represented by stocks and bonds, then real assets are oil and gold. Among the 3 largest types of oil in the world, even though the United States is a producer country, production volumes are still far from satisfying domestic demand, while the oil-producing countries themselves are listed among the largest importers. However, thanks to the development of shale gas and shale oil, the United States has strengthened its position as a supplier. This can even be called a shale revolution. But the biggest downside of shale oil is the high cost of production, with production costs estimated at around $45 per barrel. So if the price of oil falls below $50, it is predicted that more than half of the companies will go bankrupt. For this reason, OPEC countries have hastily held several meetings to discuss production cuts. But the interests of oil-producing countries are too complex to come to a unified agreement, and this has always ended in failure. Helen believes that they will not come to an agreement. They are struggling to keep the price at around $60 a barrel, and if this time they fail, the price will fall below $50. Eugene asks, what if they come to an agreement? Oil prices will skyrocket and the market will be thrilled, but the likelihood of this is extremely low. Eugene thinks that maybe this time they can come to an agreement. Helen asks why he thinks so. He said it without thinking. It would just be good if everything worked out. It would indeed be good, but hope and prognosis are 2 different things. Eugene leaves the hotel in Terry's car. He speculates that if the OPEC agreement to cut production is reached, as his vision showed, oil prices will soar. Then you can buy oil in advance, which can bring significant profits. Eugene predicted the mortar explosion and the Mountain Hill bankruptcy, so there's a chance he can predict this OPEC deal too. It's a question of investment capital. Eugene recently signed a lease agreement and is also planning to give his mother about 100 million won. So now he has 275 million in his account, 70 million in Terry's account. It's hardly worth investing everything. Terry realized that Eugene had had a vision again when he spoke to his sister. Terry is annoyingly perceptive, asking Eugene to tell him what happened. He saw a prediction related to the OPEC agreement to cut production, and therefore suggests buying oil, as prices will rise. Terry asks how he plans to buy oil, whether he's going to store barrels at home. Eugene offers to explain when they arrive. According to Helen, the price is barely hanging on at $60 a barrel. Terry asks if it is really that serious. He heard what his sister explained, but it doesn't seem that significant. Crude oil is used for more than just fueling cars. It is used in many industries, so rising oil prices have a significant impact on the prices of everything else. Terry will transfer 500 million won to Eugene, leaving $11,932,000. Eugene's share is about 673,000. Terry finds WTI, a brand of oil produced in Texas, and asks where to buy it. Eugene replies, on the New York Mercantile Exchange. Since they don't know how everything will turn out, it's better to bet about $300,000 for now. Terry asks to buy some for him too. Eugene asks how much he wants. Terry says $10 million. It's a huge amount of money, and apparently Terry doesn't understand how to handle big money at all. There are no guarantees, but Eugene foresaw this. He is not inclined to trust it completely. Terry says $3 million then. The market is predicting a failure of the agreement on production cuts. This expectation has already influenced the price, and the cost of oil has fallen as much as it could. Even if they do not reach an agreement, the fall will not be that significant. If Eugene is wrong, he will simply sell at a small loss. Together with Terry, they have a total of about $3.5 million. This is not something Eugene was particularly interested in, and the information is far from accurate. Just a few finger movements and we can start investing. Eugene buys oil. Now we need to wait for the end of the OPEC meeting. Eugene and his mother managed to sign a contract for a 2-room apartment quite successfully with a down payment of about 120 million won. Even though the building was old, the wallpaper and floors had been updated, so the interior was clean. Eugene asks his mother if she likes the house. She likes it. There are 2 rooms and a lot of light. If Eugene had spent more money, they could have found a better place. But he's glad his mother likes it. Before this, with each move their house only became smaller, and their father's things were constantly lost. The items in the box are memorabilia from my father that my mother couldn't find the strength to throw away. Previously, she had a dream of a private house for their family. Her father bought a plot of land and made it come true by building a large mansion, where Eugene was born and grew up for quite some time. Most of the family memories are associated with this place. Eugene asks his mother if she often thinks about his father. She answers in the affirmative. He worked so hard for them and left so early. If he were alive, he could have seen such significant days as today. The mother starts to cry. She says she still needs to tidy up and asks Eugene to go to his room and unpack. Eugene thinks that they need to buy, first of all, a washing machine, a refrigerator, a dining table, a bed. They will have to buy everything new. He asks his mother to take a break from work for a while. She says that she is healthy and cannot just sit at home. Then, let her take at least 3 months of leave. The mother agrees to this. Eugene deposited 100 million won into this account. Let her use it as she saw fit. His mother thinks that since he suddenly became rich, he is now giving money to everyone, Eugene says. After all, she is his mother. She was saving money, she doesn't need it. Let Eugene save this money and put it aside for buying a house, and for his wedding too. Eugene suggests that he simply leave them with her. Even after he gave his mother 100 million and deducted the rent, he still had 275 million won left in his account, about 100 of which would go to taxes. But Terry still owed him 740 million won. With this, he can stop worrying about money for at least the next 20 years. It's unlikely that making money is always so easy. After some time, Eugene returns home with Terry. Eugene's mother asks his friend if he's eaten. He says, not yet. On moving day, we need to eat jiajangmen. Terry suggests ordering it later. He treats us. Finding it hard to believe that a housewarming gift from a man with a ton of money is toilet paper, Terry asks what he should have brought. Eugene says something modest like a refrigerator, a washing machine, or a television. Terry claims Eugene is pressuring him. Terry read in the news that Mountain Hill had gone bankrupt. They were the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, and the estimated damage from the hack was at least hundreds of billions, possibly close to $1 trillion. Mountain Hill was supposed to compensate for the damages, but the losses were too great for one exchange, and they eventually filed for bankruptcy. Eugene asks what's wrong with the Banthcoin owners. Terry says they're all broke. If something like this had happened at a bank, the government would have stepped in and instituted compensation measures. But since Bankcoin has no governing body, there was no structure that could take action or obtain compensation for the damage. It's incredible that Eugene predicted Mountain Hill's bankruptcy, but perhaps it was just luck, albeit a very profitable one. Terry believes this is no coincidence. It is a hidden superpower that awakens in a moment of life-threatening danger. This is how superheroes are born. It must be the eye of the oracle. Sounds good. That's what Terry will call it from now on. If the prediction about OPEC comes true, Eugene might believe it, but so far it has only happened twice. If he is wrong this time, It will just be luck, as the doctor in the army used to say. Terry asks if he can call Eugene the Oracle's Eye if he predicts the outcome of the OPEC meeting. Eugene says let him do what he wants. The results of the OPEC meeting are supposed to be announced the next day, but Terry's sister said they won't be until tomorrow. It seems like something didn't go according to plan. Eugene has a bad feeling about this. The price has dropped 30% since the purchase, a loss of 100 million won, and the decline continues. Eugene thinks he was wrong in his conclusions, but Terry believes in the Oracle's Eye. He suggests playing. Eugene asks what kind of game it is. It's a dating simulator. Eugene reflects that 1.5 billion won per day is still not enough to live comfortably for the rest of his life. He will spend thoughtlessly and quickly end up with nothing. Some lottery winners have become homeless within 10 years. Terry yells that Eugene is losing the girl's interest. If Eugene doesn't want to run out of money, he needs to be on his guard. But now that he has so much money, he's starting to think he doesn't need to look for a part-time job as a tutor. Suddenly, Terry announces that the results of the OPEC meeting have been announced. A decision was made to reduce production. WTI is at $73, up more than 20% in a few minutes. Eugene tells Terry to check his account. He only predicted a reduction in production and does not know what will happen next. Everything needs to be sold. Terry sold. Eugene asks how much they made. $630,000. In one, it's about 700 million. Eugene's share is 60 million. Terry offers to transfer 800 at once, since he owes him 740 million. Eugene says he should have invested $10 million. Terry remarks that everyone says that after winning. This is the third time, whether it's a shell explosion, a Mountain Hill bankruptcy, or a production cut agreement. This is the third prediction. His foresight is real. When people think of superpowers, they usually think of flying, destroying buildings with their fists, or telekinesis, but precognition can seem like a big deal compared to that. But if you think about it, you can fly on a plane, and you can destroy a building with an excavator. These superpowers can be replaced with machines, but foresight is indispensable. Predicting the future remains impossible even with the development of computers and AI. Maybe Eugene can predict everything: elections, sporting events, natural disasters, and so on. This will be an incredible ability. Eugene wonders when this all started. Terry did say that it was a hidden superpower that was activated in a critical situation. In other words, an awakening. Eugene doesn't understand why it started only now. If he could have foreseen such things earlier, he would have spent every vacation in a casino. Even if not a casino, there are many ways to make money. After that day, nothing appeared for a long time, so he thought it was just a coincidence and forgot about it. Eugene saw this when he talked to Terry about Bancoin and to Helen about OPEC. It could be a precognitive ability related to finance. Eugene asks what about the mortar explosion. This must be an exception, since the situation was life-threatening. Terry asks what happened after the explosion. It was probably quite a loud event. Most likely, this incident was connected with corruption in military procurement. The KM-18 that exploded was defective from the start. This not only caused the collapse of the supplier company, Huan Precision Chemicals, but also the shares of defense contractors, which is also related to finances. Terry is not wrong, but if you think about it that way, most things in the world are directly or indirectly related to finance. Terry says he's got a great idea. Usually when he says that, it's complete nonsense. But let him tell it anyway, even though Eugene has a bad feeling about it. Terry has the capital, Eugene has the superpower, then they invest and split the profits. It's a good offer, but they could lose. Eugene asks if he's then responsible for half the losses. Terry says he can return it if he has something to pay for. If not, then okay. All losses will be reimbursed from the wedding savings. I wonder if it is even possible to draw up such a contract. It's basically a game of chance, and if it were possible, Eugene would be happy to do it. But in reality, there's a big problem. Even if he has a superpower, there is no guarantee that he sees everything 100% accurately. Maybe he sees one of the possible options with the highest probability. Information must have a reliable source and basis, otherwise it simply makes no sense. Even if all the swans were white before, it does not mean that there are no black swans. This is the trap of inductive thinking. If Eugene's prediction turns out to be wrong and they lose billions, it's unclear whether they can handle the situation, Terry says. But if the superpower is guaranteed to work, it's a great opportunity. He has the gift of foresight, and Terry has 13 billion won. If they combine these two factors, they can make a fortune. Terry offers to take his hand and dive into the world of investing together. If Eugene doesn't take his hand, then they will never see each other again. Terry insists that he agree. Then Eugene's phone rings. This is one of his friends, Michael. He and Kevin are meeting in Hongdae for a drink. Kevin heard that Eugene was discharged and wants to see him. Eugene thinks he should go, They haven't seen each other in a while. Michael says they're meeting at Kuma Beer in an hour. He will talk to Terry when he returns. He asks him not to leave. They haven't discussed everything yet. Eugene comes to the restaurant. They ask him how he is doing at work. Eugene says that if possible, it would be better not to go. He is introduced to the first-year students who arrived this year. This is Jane and Cheryl. Kevin said he'd be a little late. Michael suggested starting without him. He asks Eugene if he will resume his studies next year. Eugene says that he will think about it. He notes to himself that he has solved the issues with housing and tuition, so it would be better to graduate as soon as possible. Cheryl offers to pour Eugene a drink and asks if he can pour hers later. Eugene says yes. He notices that she drinks well. Cheryl says she can handle 3 bottles of soju when Kevin arrives. They hadn't seen Eugene for a long time. Kevin has apparently been looking for a job all this time. He's luckier than others who haven't been hired yet. As the financial sector is cutting back on hiring, the commercial bank is still coping, but the investment bank will cut back even more next year. The atmosphere is tense right now due to reorganizations and layoffs. KYB and Door Securities will soon merge. They will become the largest in the industry, taking first place after the merger of the second and fourth largest companies. It's great for the investment banking industry, but not for the employees. Mergers always come with layoffs, but as a new hire, Kevin probably has nothing to worry about. Kevin says even new hires are being asked to quit voluntarily, so he's nervous, and the work isn't as interesting as he expected. He's looking at private equity. He's always been interested in mergers and acquisitions. It seems that just because you found a job doesn't mean you can relax. There are great entrepreneurs but no great investors. That is the reality of their country. They need someone who can compete with foreign capital. Someone who, after making a profit, even becomes the target of media attacks. Who knows if such a day will come? A genius investor like a Korean Warren Buffett might emerge. Meanwhile, Cheryl gets a call from someone. She says they're at Kuma Beer. This is Sally Black. They were supposed to meet today, but Cheryl was delayed here with them, so she'll be coming here. Cheryl is asked why she invited Sally. She is confused. This was the first meeting between Eugene and Sally after their separation. They are going to a cafe. 2 years have passed. Eugene asks if she is dating John. Sally answers in the affirmative. John dropped by the school festival for a short while. He is the 3rd son of the owner of a large corporation, GH Constructions. Handsome, with a good character. Eugene saw him only briefly. Shortly after Eugene left for the army, Michael told him that Sally was dating John. Eugene notices that she has changed a lot. She used to be much more modest. Sally apologizes for breaking up with Eugene during a difficult time for him. She really liked him. It may sound strange, but it's true. From the moment she first saw Eugene, he was different from others. She always felt confident in him. That's why she liked him. Eugene asks why they broke up then. Sally says she just wanted to take advantage of the opportunity. She can't say anything in her defense. After all, it was she who ended their relationship. But she only wanted to achieve her dream. Eugene asks what kind of dream. Sally says she thinks she'll go, and Eugene asks again what dream she's talking about. This is a dream of success. 2 years ago, before Eugene could even hold his father's funeral, they lost their home. Their relatives turned away from them, and then they received a message from Sally about their separation. Eugene felt like everything was falling apart. Without having time to grieve, he went into the army, and his mother, left alone, was forced to work very hard to make ends meet. Then, thanks to Terry, Eugene earned 1.5 billion won, and even another 60 million thanks to a successful investment. Almost 1.5 billion came into his hands. I wonder what success means to Sally. Maybe 1.5 billion isn't enough. Suddenly Eugene sees the eagle again. Maybe he will drink too. I wonder what he will show this time. The eagle rises. He flies away as if he had nothing to show. Eugene comes to Terry and wakes him up, who tells him to go home if he is drunk. Eugene says he shook his hand so they do it together. Terry doesn't understand what he means. They will achieve success together. In the morning, Eugene wonders why he is sleeping at Terry's. He ordered him a hangover burger. Eugene says they need to discuss what hangover soup is for. Terry asks if something happened last night. Eugene remembers the eagle. He says he doesn't remember anything. He remembers the vow from last night, of course, but it's better to talk after eating. Eugene asks if Terry has ever invested before. He says of course not, except for that oil. But Bancoin counts too. Eugene was a member of the Practical Investment Club, and even invested some money. But at best it was 1 million won, and even then with a loss of half the amount. He was studying business. He should have learned something. But Eugene was only there for a year, and he also learned a few things through the club. He asks how much Terry has in his account now, and he says $1.5 million, which is 13 billion won. Ordinary people will never even see such a sum in their lives. It's interesting what can be done with such money. In investing, the size of the capital is crucial. To make 100 million with 10, you need to get a return of 100%. But with 10 billion, 1% is enough. That's why Terry was able to earn 700 million won so easily. But if he failed, the losses would also be huge. Terry asks where they should start. But it's unclear why he would even bother investing with 13 billion won. He could live off the interest for the rest of his life. The more money, the better. Plus, it's fun, just like a game, Eugene says. Making money is only fun until you start losing it. Terry asks Eugene if there's anything he would like to do if he earned more money. Eugene is not sure. Investing requires foresight, waiting for the eagle or the smoke to appear. But it is unclear when and how this will happen. He is not sure. But it was like a reflex when he was faced with certain information. If Eugene can truly foresee financial matters, he needs information. For the past few days, he had been reading all the latest economic articles and looking at the stocks of large companies listed on the stock exchange. In investing, information is as important as capital. Stock prices, oil prices, gold prices, exchange rates, bond yields, all of them fluctuate depending on information. Today, thanks to mandatory disclosure policies, institutions and companies are required to publish all important data. This allows Eugene to learn both good and bad news about companies, but publicly available information that can be seen by almost anyone has little value. Stocks with good news have already risen, while those with bad news have already fallen. Absolutely nothing interesting. He needs insider information, like about Mountain Hill or OPEC. Terry says that even with foresight, things won't happen instantly, and Eugene somehow feels deprived. Terry suggests drafting a contract where they split the profits equally. Helen always said that the closer people were, the clearer such things should be. And in fact, this is true. If Eugene thought that Terry was not keeping his promises, he would not have trusted him with those 500 million. Eugene wants coffee. Terry says there is no coffee at home. Then Eugene gets a call from an unknown number. This is Cheryl. She asks if Eugene would like to have coffee if he has time. He arrives at the cafe where Cheryl is already waiting for him. She thanks him for coming despite the sudden request. Eugene says he was just visiting a friend nearby. Cheryl asks why he's looking at her like that. He thought she looked like a girl group member he saw in the army. Eugene asks what she is doing in Gangnam. Cheryl says that she lives in Cheongdam, and Eugene's friend, fortunately, lives nearby. He was just about to drink coffee, he thought to himself. It's surprising that a first-year student lives in Cheongdam. It's one of the most prestigious areas. Maybe she's from a rich family. Eugene asks why she wanted to meet. Cheryl says she wanted to apologize. She rarely attended such meetings and did not know that there was anything between Eugene and Sally. Cheryl was worried when he left like that if he returned to university next semester, they would study together. She asks if Eugene can do her a favor. He thinks the apology was an excuse to ask him out on a date. Eugene considers whether he should refuse if she confesses, but she is too beautiful. Cheryl asks for help choosing a phone. She might get cheated if she goes alone. Eugene suggests going right now. He's not very knowledgeable about electronics either. Cheryl says his presence will be enough. Terry knows his stuff. He never skimps on his personal devices, and probably knows everything about the latest models, their specifications and prices. They come to an electronics store. Cheryl is interested in the Samsung Electronics L6. The store clerk says it's a bestseller. Cheryl asks if there is an increased cashback offer today, the same as what is stated on the website, and the seller answers in the affirmative. Buying a phone has become incredibly complicated these days. If you don't know anything, you're sure to get scammed, but Cheryl seems to have figured it out herself. Eugene decides to look at the L6 model. Before the army, he used L3 for a long time. Suddenly, in the reflection of the phone screen, he sees a familiar glow. The eagle appeared again. Eugene sees the inscription L6 Limited Edition. He doesn't understand what it means. Cheryl sees him looking somewhere. Eugene says he just saw a mosquito. She wonders what kind of mosquito there could be in this weather. So it seems so. Cheryl bought the phone in blue because they didn't have pink, but that color is nice too. Eugene says that model might be discontinued soon. Cheryl asks why, but Eugene was thinking about the prediction. He says it's just a joke and says goodbye. Cheryl was going to treat him to food as a token of her gratitude. Eugene informs Terry about the Samsung Electronics Model L6 phone. Terry just happens to have a phone like that. Eugene asks why it's pink. Terry thinks that a lot of guys like that color, but that's doubtful. Eugene says that he touched L6 and saw a prediction that he would be taken out of production. He himself does not know why. Samsung Electronics produces a wide range of smartphones, from budget to premium. The L series is Samsung's flagship. But now the premium smartphone market is dominated by Apple and their N phone. and it would not be an exaggeration to say that Samsung's L series is dividing the market. Apple is far ahead in terms of sales and profits of high-end phones. This L6 was designed to compete with them. There is even an opinion that it is superior to the N phone in design and performance. Thanks to such ratings, the L6 is snapped up like hot cakes. The previous model, the L5, had global sales of 50 million units, which is a staggering figure, and now the L6 is projected to sell over 70 million units. It's probably still selling well worldwide, so it's unclear why they discontinued it. Maybe it's because of the patent dispute. They say that more than 200,000 patents are involved in one smartphone. Samsung is one of the largest electronics manufacturers in the world, which is why they are involved in several patent disputes in different countries. At the beginning of the smartphone market, the patent dispute between Samsung and Apple somehow became the court case of the century. Even if they lose a patent dispute, they usually just pay damages and the cost of the patent, which rarely stops sales. In terms of patents, Samsung occupies a leading position. Unlike Apple, which pioneered the smartphone era, or other companies that started later, Samsung has been producing smartphones since the 2G era, and as a result, they have accumulated a huge number of patents on communications and technologies. Even when they found themselves involved in a design patent dispute with Apple, they fought back with communications patents as a weapon and had some success in doing so. It turns out that the main question is the reason for discontinuing production and when this will happen. As far as Terry knows, there are no problems with Samsung products that could lead to something like this. Even if there is a problem with the smartphone, they can repair it or return the money. There is no point in discontinuing it. It is true that one smartphone contains many features, and there are various issues that arise in the software and hardware. If every problem led to the end of sales, all manufacturers would have gone bankrupt long ago. From the company's point of view, they would never intentionally do something unprofitable. It's unclear why a well-selling product would suddenly stop selling. In the middle of the night, Terry's scream is suddenly heard. Something was lying next to his head and suddenly exploded. Terry was charging his phone while he was playing, and it suddenly exploded while he was sleeping. It's unclear how a phone can explode a week after purchase. Terry thinks it's some kind of bomb. Eugene would have warned Cheryl not to buy this phone if he knew this would happen. Terry found on the internet that there had already been an explosion. It happened 3 days after release. The community even uploaded a photo. It exploded while charging. Thanks to Samsung Electronics' swift response, the matter was quickly hushed up. There were other similar blog posts and Facebook posts, and there were likely even more cases, if you include those that went unreported. From the manufacturer's point of view, they don't want to stir up a quality dispute. It's not surprising that they tried to silence people with monetary compensation. Samsung said it was due to external influences. In fact, phone explosions are not that uncommon. The question is in the proportion. It is different, one device out of 1 million or 1 out of 100,000. Besides the explosions, there were some minor problems. But this did not have a significant impact on sales. Until the release of the Phone 7, the L6 looks set to dominate. Eugene asks if there was a problem in the production process. Terry says it's unlikely that Samsung would make a mistake that even a small company wouldn't make. In any case, it is a possibility. They have incredible information, but Samsung Electronics seems to be reluctant to act until they confirm the cause of what happened. Selling Bancoin wasn't an investment, they were just managing the risks. Even if Mountain Hill hadn't gone bankrupt, they wouldn't have lost anything. But this case is different. They wouldn't have thought so hard if it had been a small investment. Assuming that discontinuation is inevitable, they need to determine the timing and consequences to decide how to invest. We need to monitor the situation for a few more days. The next day, Samsung's representative says that they will announce the cause after the investigation. One important condition for receiving compensation is that they must not publish information about the explosion on the internet until the investigation results are released. It seems there were quite a few similar cases. A company employee wasn't even surprised to see the condition of the L6. It seems there were more explosions than what was published online. If it were just a device malfunction, it would not have been discontinued. But an explosion is a different matter. Phones are especially sensitive in terms of security because they are always with a person. If Terry had been on the phone at the time of the explosion, he could have been seriously injured. At this rate, this could be considered a reason to cancel sales. Samsung Electronics' annual operating profit is over 30 trillion won, which is split between semiconductors, displays, home appliances, and more. With 40% of that profit coming from its IT mobile communications division, which includes smartphones. Eugene suggests that if the L6 is discontinued, They will lose 40% of their operating profits. Terry thinks it's unlikely to be that bad. They have mid and low-end product lines and previous models, but it will definitely hit CO Sung. If each phone costs 1 million won, the compensation amount will be 6 trillion won, and the losses will increase several times, taking into account the expected profit and the decline in brand value. The question is how to invest. If they predicted good news, they would just buy shares, but when you predict bad news, there are few options. This appears to be a case where short selling is used, that is, selling exchange-traded assets that are not in the investor's portfolio. Since OTK is a foreign company, there shouldn't be any problems. Short selling itself is not complicated. Normal stock trading involves buying and then selling. Short selling involves borrowing shares from a broker, selling them, buying them back at a lower price, and returning them, all with the goal of making a profit. The question is the profit margin. Even if you sell shares for 100 million won and buy them for 10 million, the profit margin is limited to 99%, but no stock will fall that much. Even if L6 is discontinued, the fall will be 20 or 30% at most. It hardly makes sense to invest 13 million won to earn 3 or 4 billion, even though that is a huge profit. Eugene asks if there is a way to get more. Terry offers futures and options. Eugene doesn't really understand derivatives, and with their meager budget at the Investors Club, they couldn't even think about them. They now have $12.5 million, which is enough to take the issue seriously. They need someone who understands derivatives, but not Helen. If she asks what they base their decisions on when it comes to futures and options, they won't have a good answer. Terry suggests telling her that Eugene trusts his foresight, but in situations like these, Helen's anger cannot be underestimated. Eugene knows one person, Peter Steele, the former president of the investment club. Some consider him a madman, some a genius. There are two types of geniuses in the world: those who are brilliant in several fields, and those who excel in only one. Peter Steele belongs to the second group. He grew up in Australia, so he had no problems with English, but his overall grades were below average. The reason he was accepted into a Korean university as a student with special talents was because he was a math prodigy. Having attended fourth-year classes since his first year, he became fixated on a problem given by the professor and solved it in 3 days and 3 nights without food or sleep. Then he accidentally joined an investment club and became interested in the stock market, immersing himself in it completely. While he was enjoying the investment simulation, a small company called QMK Tech caught his eye. Being unrivaled in mathematics, Peter predicted a 10-fold increase in their stock, and, thinking that he could not miss such an opportunity, took 5 million won from his deposit for the room rent. Literally 2 weeks after moving from a friend's house to the club's room, QMK shares began to repeatedly reach their highs as they were linked to the then popular topic of IoT, the concept of a data network between objects equipped with built-in tools and technologies for interacting with each other or with the external environment. In about 2 months, the stock price, which had remained stable for years, increased tenfold. After just 1 month of investment, 5 million won turned into 50 million. After the success of his first investment, Peter dropped everything and devoted himself entirely to analyzing companies. Although he sometimes suffered losses, by the time Eugene joined the club, Peter's investment fund had grown to 300 million won, a huge amount that ordinary students would never see. An ordinary person would have been pleased, but Peter felt that this was not enough, and what he regretted most was the size of his initial capital. If his initial investment was 100 million won, he could have earned 6 billion in profit. To achieve higher returns, Peter began studying and analyzing the options market, and once he gained confidence, CL Chemicals caught his attention. He determined that the company was greatly undervalued. He predicted the current increase in its price, sold all his shares for cash, and began buying call options on CL Chemicals. But just a few days later, an absurd disaster occurred when an employee fell victim to an email phishing scam and transferred a payment to the wrong account. Because of this, 20% of CL Chemicals' operating profit for the quarter, or $27 million, was lost. This unexpected bad news caused the stock price to plummet, and the value of the call options Peter had bought immediately collapsed. Instead of liquidating his position, he decided to take a risk by borrowing money from a loan shark at the maximum legal interest rate to buy even more call options. On the day the option expired, the stock price failed to recover, and the more than 300 million won he had invested was lost. When Peter failed to repay the debt, illegal collection methods began and he went into hiding. Later, the stock price of CL Chemicals skyrocketed, but that's another story. If Peter had bought the actual stock, the 300 million won investment would have turned into 700 million, but due to his obsession with options, he didn't earn a penny. Soon Eugene meets Peter. He asks if he's sure he doesn't mind taking on the bill. Eugene introduces Peter to Terry. Peter remembers that he bought Bantacoin back in high school. Eugene asks what Peter has been doing since taking his break. For a while, he did any job he could find, worked in construction, worked as a driver, and now he teaches mathematics to university applicants, preparing them for exams, earning money with blood and sweat. You realize how valuable even 101 coin is. Peter has about 2 million in debt left. He just needs to work a little more, and he will pay it all off. Peter went from millions to debt overnight. In his place, many would probably have given up and fallen into despair. But as soon as Eugene met Peter, he immediately felt that he was an unusual person. Eugene wanted to know more about futures and options. Peter asks if he has already gone through the account opening process. He says they will do everything through OTK. Futures and options are derivatives. Eugene knows the difference. Futures are contracts where both parties agree to trade a certain amount of a commodity in the future. This is necessary to maintain a fixed price without fluctuations to prevent a fall in value. It is a promise to trade at a certain price. Whether you win or lose depends on the price on the day of the contract. Both parties are obligated to complete the transaction, regardless of profit or loss. With options, you are selling the right to trade. Options are also based on an expiration date. Each option has both a seller and a buyer, and the right to exercise the option belongs to the buyer. Terry believes this puts the option seller at a disadvantage. At first glance, it may seem that this is the case, but in the market, the percentage of winnings for sellers is higher. The risks are unlimited, but therefore they act cautiously. So, from a buyer's perspective, you win whether the stock goes up or down. Let's say there is a put option with a low probability of success. The stock price is 200 million won. The put option is sold for 100 million. The stock must fall by half for the buyer to make a profit. On the expiration day, the stock price is 10 million. This means 900,000 profit in a week. If the buyer had smoked this option for $1 billion, the payout would have been 9 trillion. Of course, this almost never happens in reality. You expect something good, but the outcome, as usual, is bad. When this happens, the price of put options skyrockets hundreds of times, and the option seller has to pay out that amount. It seems that now all the theory that Eugene has been studying is starting to come together. Peter would not advise playing with options. He asks what exactly Eugene is trying to do. Samsung Electronics is a put, but the L6 has just come out and is selling well. Eugene says it will be discontinued. If the explosions continue, they will have to do it. You have to be careful. You can play around with options and lose everything, like what happened to Peter. Terry heard him. You can lose everything at once, but he still wants to do it. Eugene is willing to try. Based on the information they have, they consider investment strategies. Assuming the discontinuation of L6, there are two options, either low risk and low return, or high risk and high return. Eugene suggests investing 70% in put options and the rest in short sales, even if the rate of return declines to avoid the worst-case scenario. The current price of Samsung shares reflects the future profits associated with L6. It is safe to say that the price will fall as much as it rose after the release of L6, about 10%. There was another explosion in the US, and it didn't even happen during charging. Samsung Electronics announced its position on this matter in the news, and international media began to show interest since the explosion occurred in the United States. With daily options trading volume in Korea reaching 500 billion won and futures trading volume reaching 1 trillion, Eugene trades options through HTS, a program that allows retail investors to trade outside of a broker's office, making it difficult to distinguish between the stock market and the casino. Of the 13 billion won, 800 million is due to Eugene, even though Terry said he would cover the investment himself. Since they decided to invest together, Eugene will also invest his 800 million. If the stock doesn't fall as predicted, all of these options will become worthless. As the contract is executed, money flows from the cash balance to the option balance. And now, there are only 800 million left in the account. Even in the worst case, this should be enough to hold out for a while. All that remains is to wait. Contrary to expectations, Samsung's share price rose 8% in 2 days. Short selling, which only makes a profit when stocks fall, naturally resulted in an 8% loss. The problem was with put options. With the stock price rising instead of falling, the chances of putting options being exercised are extremely slim. Simply put, they have become worthless pieces of paper. Terry says nothing, but looks clearly worried. There is a rumor that Samsung decided to replace the batteries. 10 more explosions occurred, although the stock price rose. From the outside, it seems that they are ignoring the situation, which will certainly escalate the situation. They should announce the end of production tomorrow, even if everything goes according to plan. Samsung Electronics is one of the world's leading electronics manufacturers, so the press conference hall was filled not only with local media, but also with foreign journalists. Chairman of the International Management Board of Samsung Electronics sincerely thanks customers who continue to support and love their products. In short, the cause of the explosions was the Samsung SB battery. The company promised appropriate compensation to the affected customers. They also announced that the battery would be replaced with the expected BTL, and a relaunch would be carried out. A complete recall of 6 million devices has also been announced. This is a recall, not a discontinuation. People like Samsung's recall decision. Replacing 6 million devices is a loss of 6 trillion won. But in terms of production costs, the loss is only 2 trillion. There is also speculation that, to reduce losses, returned phones will be polished, have their batteries replaced, and be resold as new. Following the announcement of the recall, the shares, which had been falling, rose again and closed down only 1.5%. At the same time, a shareholder return policy was announced, including quarterly dividends. This demonstrates masterful crisis management in a huge corporation. Samsung's strategic timing accelerated the recovery of the stock price. The losses had already reached 6 billion won, half of the initial investment, and Eugene didn't think things would turn out like this. Although they agreed to split the profits, Terry will have to cover most of the losses, since Eugene cannot cover losses of several tens of billions. 60 billion won is enough money to last a lifetime. Maybe Eugene wouldn't even spend it all if he spent 1 billion won a year. To get back 50% of the lost capital, you need to earn 100% profit. The big problem is that this is not the end. If Eugene doesn't return the capital and increase it, even the remaining billions will disappear after the option expires. He doesn't know what to do now. Eugene and Terry both rise from their beds. Eugene thinks Terry wasn't sleeping either, but he says he woke up because Eugene was moaning in his sleep. Samsung's stock price may not rise again. Most people are worried about the stock price going down, and they are worried about the price going up. The only thing that is certain is that the L6 will be discontinued. Eugene believes that Terry blames him, because nothing would have happened if it weren't for the prediction. But Terry was the first one to offer to invest. This is not the end of the story. Recalling devices may not solve the problem. Although Samsung stated that the problem is with the battery, it could be something else. It's impossible to say with certainty that they are completely wrong. The problem is timing. There is not much time left before the option expires. A week after Samsung's announcement, the recall has finally begun. 30,000 new points were opened in one day. Everyone was happy, both those who received replacements and new customers. With the uncertainties successfully resolved, Samsung Electronics' share price began to rise again. Meanwhile, the losses had increased to more than 9 billion won, with only 3.5 billion remaining out of the 13 billion. Luckily, they did some short selling. If they had only invested in put options, they would have barely had anything left. Terry can't believe the money he made from Bancoin just disappeared. The put options they bought are now worthless, even though there are still 3.5 billion left, which is no consolation. Eugene himself has lost 600 million. Next week, if nothing happens, it will all really end. The wrong prediction led to this disaster. It looks like the same thing will happen to him as to Peter. Either his prediction was wrong, or he missed something. Terry says he lived well without this money before. Eugene is having a dream. The fire extinguisher is turned on in the plane. Someone got hurt. There is an exploded phone and a plane ticket on the floor. The date is December 9th. Eugene wakes up. He realizes that there are 4 days left. In 4 days, something will happen that will cause the L6 to be discontinued. If this was one of the visions, then it will be so. Someone writes that even after exchanging the L6 for a new one, the difference is not noticeable at all. The exchanged phone exploded 2 hours ago. After putting on the case and connecting the device to the charger, it lit up. Samsung has already commissioned an investigation from a certified external agency on this matter. They again say it is due to external influence. If they were so confident, they wouldn't have done something like that. Terry suddenly remembers a quote from Yogi Berra. Eugene only knows Yogi Berra. Terry got just one letter wrong. This quote probably sounds like it's over until it's over. Samsung reported that the SB battery was the cause of the fire and he replaced it with a BLT, but the explosion occurred again. This may be done on purpose to get compensation, or the problem may lie in the device itself. They will see how events develop over the next 4 days. 4 days later, it was revealed that the phone that exploded in flight had been identified as the latest Samsung model. A passenger carrying a phone in his pocket suffered burns to his thigh and fingers. and the plane made an emergency landing 30 minutes after takeoff. The injured passenger had exchanged his old L6 for a new one the day before, but there was no immediate response from Samsung Electronics. The news soon reached media outlets around the world, leading US airlines to announce a ban on L6. Following the news, an emergency meeting was called at Samsung headquarters, and after the opening bell, Samsung shares began to plummet, falling 13% before the lunch session. Experts say now is the time to buy, but if things are so good, let them buy themselves. While large organizations were selling en masse, only private investors tried to support the purchases. They simply decided that this was not the worst-case scenario that would lead to the cessation of production. Vice Chairman Samsung enters the conference room. He believes the original cause, the battery, was replaced, but then it is unclear why the replacement product exploded. The head of the international management reports that the cause of the explosion is currently under investigation. It may take a week, but it will take longer to pinpoint the cause. Perhaps they were too hasty with the recall. They should have already determined the exact cause and taken appropriate measures. The Director of Strategic Development says they will buy time with a recall, and during this time they will identify and fix the cause of the defect. Their main task is to gain time. Trying to fix it now won't convince consumers, so a recall is the best course of action. The problem is that this is the second time, and it's unknown if they'll be able to find the exact cause in that time. There is another method, but no one even dares to mention it. The chairman thinks about what decision his father would make. This company was founded by his grandfather and developed by his father throughout his life. When his father became ill, the management of this company became the responsibility of the vice chairman. As a child, his grandfather told him that a corporation was like the ship of Theseus. It was only later that the vice chairman learned of a concept called the Theseus paradox. Theseus returned on a ship, and the Athenians decided to preserve it. When the planks rotted, they were removed and replaced with new ones, and when the oars rotted, new ones were put in their place. After thousands of years of storage and numerous replacements of the original parts, there are no more of them left, so it is hardly possible to call this ship the ship of Theseus as before. The same thing applies to the corporation. Samsung was founded during the Korean War. At that time, they manufactured and sold household appliances, acquiring technology from Japanese companies. None of the employees who worked back then are still around. None of the products that were produced back then are still being produced today. The headquarters and factories have been moved several times. Everything has changed. But Samsung Electronics is still Samsung Electronics. The deputy chairman wonders what then defines their company. He announces that from now on they will discontinue the L6. All sold products will be returned, and consumers who want to exchange devices will receive appropriate compensation. Stopping production is the worst choice imaginable. Refunds for every unit sold and refusal of future sales of the model. They also will not be able to avoid damage to the company's image. No matter the amount of losses, money can be made again. But if the company loses trust, that's the end. They already lost it because of a problematic product, and they lost it again by initiating a recall of devices, but not solving the problem. This is the last chance they have. The chairman of the international management will prepare an announcement immediately. Samsung sincerely apologizes to customers and partners who have trusted and loved L6 for the significant inconvenience and concern this incident has caused. While the investigation and detailed assessment are ongoing, they state that this decision was made with the utmost regard for customer safety. From this moment on, Samsung decided to stop selling and exchanging L6. It is discontinued. After the press conference, even private investors began selling shares. Experts estimate the expected loss from the discontinuation of the L6 at 50 trillion won, the first lower limit for Samsung since the financial crisis of 2008. The Korea Stock Exchange, securities and investment companies, and Forex were in turmoil. It was Black Tuesday, which would later be recorded in the history of the Korean stock market. The CEO of KYB Securities revealed that the losses on recently issued put options on Samsung Electronics exceed 1,000 times. Even before the incident, put options on Samsung were purchased through Golden Gate, which also suffered significant losses. It turns out that the put options were simply purchased by accident through Golden Gate. Investments are not a child's play. No one will invest billions without reason. The director demands to know if there is information on internal trading. Watching the stocks fall, Eugene and Terry were shocked. Since this is not a closed market, everyone can either benefit or suffer greatly. With the structure of short selling and options trading, one person's profit is tied to another's loss, making everyone's disaster a blessing in disguise. The 13 billion invested turned into a profit exceeding 50-fold. increasing to 685 billion won. From billionaires, they became multi-billionaires. They closed the sale and took their profits. The final return was 5,170%, 685 billion. If the price had fallen even further by the expiration date, it would have been a real jackpot, with the profits exceeding $1 trillion. They agreed to split the profits after deducting the principal of 13 billion. Half is 332 billion. I wonder if the bills would reach the height of the building if they were stacked together. When Eugene first came back from the army, he was just a poor guy worried about the future, and now it looks like he will have 336 billion. It's hard to believe that he can actually get such a huge amount. His initial capital was only 800 million, and if he lost it, Terry would have suffered greatly. Just a few days ago, he alone was suffering losses in the tens of billions, and now taking half of the profits is even somehow embarrassing. In any case, without Eugene, Terry would have lost 13 billion. Eugene provides the information, Terry provides the capital. It is natural for Eugene to think that his contribution is greater. But this guy said from the very beginning that he would give half without hesitation, and he intends to keep his promise. Eugene once again realized the power of foresight, predicting the demise of just one smartphone, and already making hundreds of billions. I wonder what if he predicted a financial crisis, a war, or a natural disaster. In case of unforeseen circumstances, it is better to keep this a secret. More than Terry, Eugene only trusts his mother. So if he knows about his ability, now that he understands that sharing such a thing is dangerous, he will definitely not tell anyone. Now they are really rich, but although this is good news, it is hard to rejoice. They made such a profit during a national crisis. Financial markets have barely stabilized, but Samsung Electronics' operating profit is already forecast to fall, and weak smartphone exports are likely to worsen the trade balance starting next month, while shares of US company NPL and Chinese company Xiaomi rose. After all, they weren't the reason for the product being removed from sale. Even if they did nothing, the L6 would have been discontinued, Samsung shares would have hit rock bottom, and the Kospi and Kospak indices would have collapsed. While everyone else was suffering losses, someone was sure to make a profit. The main thing is that they are now super rich, all thanks to foresight. With or without foresight, Terry's investment also played a key role. They could have missed out on such a great opportunity. Even knowing the same information, not many people would invest more than 10 billion. Terry asks how Eugene is going to get the money if it's in his account. The taxes will be astronomical. They will exceed 150 billion. You will have to prove the source of income, but you can receive the money in cash. I wonder how many boxes filled with bills there will be then. It's unclear whether it's possible to withdraw 336 billion in cash. Eugene never thought he would have such problems. Maybe he should also set up a corporation in an offshore zone. I don't really have any ideas what to do with this money, but it's a shame to end it like this. 13 billion turned into 670. It is possible to earn even more if you reinvest, but as your capital increases, it becomes more difficult to earn much more at once. But if you consistently make profits, you can accumulate wealth. Modern society adheres to a highly developed capitalist model. Money can be used to change the world and save lives. With one investment, they earned more than they could spend in a lifetime. They could do absolutely nothing and still be well off. But it is hardly right to be content with this and just stop. The premonition that Eugene had not yet shared with Terry was when the eagle flew away as if nothing had happened. But he showed the general director of the company, OTK, Eugene Price. Eugene asks Terry to shake his hand. Then he will go with him to the end, and if he does not shake his hand, then Eugene will go to the end alone. The CEO does not necessarily have to be the largest shareholder. Terry doesn't know how far it will go, but they will go together. It turns out that Eugene will run the OTK company together with him. The money is still in the foreign corporation, so there are no taxes to be paid in Korea. The distribution of company shares is also a gift, and there is a gift tax exemption in Delaware. Terry asks if Eugene still has the contract he gave him. Terry wants to see it. He tears up the contract. If you think about it again, dividing it in half doesn't make sense. Terry asks how about 8-1. Judging by the expression on his face, this is not a joke. In a world where money can even lead to murder, it's not unusual for a person to change his mind in the face of hundreds of billions. But Terry is not one to do so. He says he'll take 20% and Eugene 80. Eugene asks if he's in his right mind. Maybe he ate something bad. Terry says a double portion of jjajangmyeon, and of course he's in his right mind. But Terry just talked about splitting it in half. With his foresight, Eugene will be able to earn as much as he wants. Until now, Terry provided the capital, and Eugene the foresight. But now he has the capital too. In the end, it will be a situation in which he does all the work, and the capital is divided equally. It makes no sense for him to take only half of the profit. As Terry said, Eugene can now invest on his own, but he still turned to him because he thought it was best, regardless of friendship or loyalty. Compared to the tens of trillions that circulate daily in the financial market, 685 billion is a small amount. It is more profitable to move this money as a whole, rather than dividing it into two parts and moving them separately. Terry wants to give up 30% of the shares, but that's more than 200 billion. Eugene said that he invests where he can make a profit, so Terry wants to invest in him. Even if he gives up 200 billion now, 20% of OTK's future profits will still be his. Eugene asks that if he can't earn anything in the future, it doesn't matter, because Terry won't even be able to spend this money for the rest of his life. He earned so much thanks to Eugene. He's not going to invest once or twice and call it a day. He's going all the way, and if Eugene is going to lead, he needs that stake. If he gets 80%, that means he will manage the company. After all, Eugene is studying to be a manager, and he should be able to do it. Eugene has only been studying for a year, and Terry already thinks he is an MBA. Terry asks why he needs an American Professional Basketball League. Eugene says it is the NBA. In any case, from now on, Eugene is the CEO of OTK. Eugene asks Terry if he's sure he won't regret it, and he is. Eugene is ashamed that he doubted his friend, even for a moment, when he first heard about the idea of joint investments and thought it was nonsense. He is the only one who sees the current situation most objectively. That's what they will do. By the way, New Year is coming soon. Terry asks how Eugene celebrated last year. He says that it seems like he was shoveling snow all the time, and Terry was with his mother. Last year, Eugene was worried that she would be lonely and asked Terry to stay with her. He came to her in a flash. At Christmas, he was probably the only one who took care of her. The holidays are coming soon. We need to hurry. Eugene asks Terry to transfer 800 million won from the money he sent to Korea to his account. Terry asks if it's possible to transfer that much at once. Eugene says that taxes need to be filed correctly. They'll also deal with the taxes on the 500 million that Terry sent him earlier. It's better to settle any potential problems right away. Terry is looking for the piece of paper that his sister gave him. Found it. He asks what Eugene is going to do with the money, and he says he's thinking of going for a walk, maybe buying some gifts. Eugene comes to the real estate agency. The employee decides that he is a student looking for an apartment. The commission may be small, but now is not the time to be picky. She says she has a great option for a studio apartment, recently built, with a nice owner and an affordable price. Eugene says he's looking for a house. He is considering buying rather than renting, and the employee thinks she misheard. Eugene reiterates that he is looking for a house to buy. The price depends greatly on the location, size of the plot, and the building. Some cost around 300 million, while there are luxury homes for 1 billion or more. Eugene asks how much they will ask for this one. The employee says, approximately 500 or 600 million. Eugene wants to buy this house. He doesn't seem to be joking. The sales commission will be millions. The employee says she will check to see if similar options are available. But Eugene wants to buy this particular house. The employee says it's not for sale. Eugene asks if the owner would agree to sell the house if he offered more than market value. There might be some reason why he wants this particular place. The employee said the market price was around 600 million. Eugene can add another 200. If the deal is successful, Eugene will give the employee the money as a commission. Owning your own home is a dream for many people, and Carol Green, a housewife, moved into a 2-story house on the outskirts of the city through the court 2 years ago. But the joy was short-lived, and over time, inconveniences began to accumulate. My husband complained about the long commute to work, and the children grumbled about the distance from school. The 20-year-old house needed major repairs, but the cost was too high, so they only made temporary fixes. More and more new apartments were appearing in the city, and Carol dreamed of selling her house and moving into one of them. A contractor she knew said the house was worth 600 million, but with renovations the price could drop to 500 million, if they even bought it. As Carol was thinking about this, the real estate agent called, and said that a young man was very interested in her house. If they offered her a market price, she would be willing to think about it. The agent thought they weren't familiar with prices in the area, so she offered 800 million, and they agreed to buy. This is 200 million above the market price. That would have been enough for the apartment Carol had her eye on. But there was still no reason for the house to cost more than market value. For that money, she could buy a better house closer to the station. Perhaps there is a hidden value that she doesn't know about, Carol will think. She was about to agree, but changed her mind. They had offered 200 million more than the market price, and perhaps if she waited, they would offer even more. When Carol told her husband about this, he began to persuade her to agree immediately, but she was thinking about something else. There must be a reason why they want to buy a house at such a high price. Carol calls the agent and asks him to tell her that she won't sell for 800 million, but will agree to 1 billion. However, the agent reports that this man wants to sign a contract with Heather Lane. He also visited her house that day for 760 million. This woman is stealing her client. Heather Lane's house may be a little bigger and nicer, but 760 million is still an absurd price. Carol missed out on a golden opportunity. It's a big loss compared to the actual market value. But the contract hasn't been signed yet. She asks to tell them that she will also sell it for 760 million. Let the agent try to convince them otherwise, and she will pay her a good commission. Soon the agent reports that they have agreed to the offer. She advises getting an advance payment before they change their minds. If they find out the market price, they might change their minds. The agent suggests taking 30% as an advance payment. After sending the details, a deposit of 228 million was received. There are 4 days until the new year. The agent asks if Carol can vacate the house before then. But they haven't found a new house yet, and they need to move out in 4 days. The client is willing to give Carol 20 million for the move. She asks to tell him that they will move out the day after tomorrow. Eugene and his mother's house was sold at auction after his father's funeral, and after 2 years of suffering, he finally gets it back. It might have been cheaper if Eugene had waited, but he didn't want to. The agent reports that everything will be ready for signing tomorrow. She asks to tell why this particular house. Perhaps there is something she doesn't know. Although she heard that there was nothing like that, she talks a lot. It's just a good day. There are so many couples on the streets now. But Eugene bought a gift, so the mood is good. His mother calls him. He tells her that he will be home soon. Eugene is going to go somewhere with her, his mother asks. Why not just eat at home? He says on a day like this, you have to eat out. Terry will take them. Eugene's mother wonders if Terry is cold, but he says he is wearing thermal underwear. They are going to a wonderful place. Eugene gets another call from Cheryl. She asks why he doesn't answer his calls. She's been calling non-stop. Eugene says he didn't notice. Cheryl asks how Eugene knew the L6 was being taken off the market. He was just joking and immediately said that it was a joke. He's going somewhere now, so it's better to talk later. Eugene hopes she doesn't guess. Peter Steele also contacted him. He writes that he can't get through to him, and asks him to call as soon as he sees the message. Probably he was also shocked by the news about the withdrawal from sale. They come to their house. Eugene's mother probably remembers everything connected with this place. After all, she lived here for more than 20 years. It's nice to be back here. It brings back memories. They've already seen everything, so they can go back. Eugene suggests going inside since they've already come. Mother says he can't just break into someone else's house. It looks like the people living here have moved away. She remembers Eugene's childhood. He was an A student, and when he grew up, he passed his exams successfully. Now it's time to leave. They can't just walk into someone else's house, even if no one is there. Eugene says they only lent the house to someone for a short time. Now it belongs to them again. The mother asks how this happened. He and Terry made some money and bought it. After his father passed away, to say that Eugene wasn't sad or struggling would be a lie. The mother is very grateful that her son grew up so strong. Eugene asks why she is crying on such a happy day. Terry starts crying too. Eugene told his mother everything that had happened, except of course the part about the eagle. She asks how much he earned. Eugene can't tell her the whole amount, otherwise she will lose consciousness. He says about 3 billion won, maybe he should have said less. He decided to put his education on hold for now and delve into investing, which his mother says is not an easy task. There are many people trying to take advantage of the situation. His father always said that anyone who claims to have exclusive information is a fraud. Naturally, she gets nervous when she hears her 20-something son talking about investing. Eugene says he doesn't borrow money, he only uses what he has, and if something goes wrong, he'll stop right away. The mother is sure that he has thought everything through. It's good that Terry is with him. He says that he is completely responsible for Eugene. As for the house, a company will come tomorrow morning to estimate the cost of repairs and begin work. He will give his mother their contact information so that she can directly discuss everything that is needed with them. It won't be cheap. A quality renovation can cost tens of millions of won, which is probably why the previous owner sold the house so quickly. There's no need to worry about money. Eugene suggests they live in that apartment for now, and they'll move in completely after the renovation. It's almost time for their restaurant reservations, so it's time to head to the next location and enjoy the Christmas party. Eugene will take responsibility for his mother and take care of her. The father can rest assured and sleep peacefully. Eugene and Terry needed a base for their investment business, so Terry bought a house. He says the house cost modestly, about 4.5 billion won. Eugene asks what modesty means to him anyway. Terry says it's a philosophical question, he needs to think about it, but it doesn't matter. Eugene has heard enough. Terry will take the first floor, and Eugene can take the second. The basement can be turned into an office, Eugene notes. More like a comic book room. After they unpack, they will go shopping, but they already have everything they need. Terry says it's not what you buy, but how far you go with your shopping. They come to the hardware store. They are asked if they are looking for anything in particular. Terry says he is just looking around to see what is there first. If Terry wanted, he could buy the whole mall, so he'll take whatever he likes. He asks what kind of TV it is, and the store employee says it's the recently released SEO Sung QLED TV. This model has a 100-inch diagonal with an 8K resolution and is priced at 34,600,000 won. They only have one of these on display. Terry says he'll take it. He will take the most expensive item. The salesperson asks if he has any bonuses or discount cards and how many months he wants to pay in installments. Terry says he came to thank CEO Sung for the recent good things that have happened in his life. Purchasing one flagship product of each type will cost a total of 68.5 million won, which is less than Terry expected, so he pays it all at once. Eugene asks if Terry thinks he bought too much. He says he came to thank him, and now he can look at the furniture. Terry tried to make the basement a proper shelter. The workers said that their bedrooms were the same. Now Terry has his own space, not limited to a cramped room. It's a warehouse-sized room filled with figurines, and Terry asks that his taste be respected. It really does look like a workplace. Now you can even feel that they are doing serious work. There is one more thing left. This is the company registration document that Terry signed last time. Eugene is the CEO and gets 80% of the profits. Terry is the COO and gets 20%. Just recently, Eugene was broke, and now he's the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. Sounds like a web novel. I guess that's why people say you never know where life will take you. The plan is this: we wait for the Eagle's predictions and invest. There are no longer any doubts about the Eagle's abilities, but there are a few points. Firstly, Eugene can't control it. He won't be able to see the predictions whenever he wants. If he had control over the ability, he could know which stocks would rise or fall, where interest rates would go, and invest accordingly to make a profit. He doesn't know if this is how it should be or if he is just inexperienced. Secondly, the information that is shown is very limited. Suppose Eugene sees that the value of land in a certain area will increase tenfold, but he doesn't know whether this will happen in 1 year or in 10 years. In the case of L6, they had difficulties because they only knew the fact of its withdrawal from production, without exact dates. Analyzing the information from the Eagle and creating an investment strategy is their main responsibility. The third and most troubling problem is the certainty of the predictions. If we assume that the future is predetermined, then their actions can influence it. This is the dilemma of predictions. Natural disasters are difficult to change no matter what happens, but the results of human actions can be easily changed. This is a common theme in comics. The recent purchase of put options did not even affect the end of production of the L6. The options are paid for by a financial company, but if Seo Sung had been the one paying for them, it's unlikely they would have postponed the production cutoff date to avoid losses. The example of buying land would be appropriate here. Land values may rise so much that construction will simply be cancelled, or the project will be moved to another location. In the end, the Eagle may be right, but they may end up without profit. Even in games with the same skill, the limits of possibilities depend on the character's level. If Eugene were from a rich family, he would earn 100 times more. Then there is no choice. You will have to work harder to improve your level. Terry asks if Eugene could lose the Oracle's eye, and he thinks not. This is another feeling beyond the 5 basic ones. Even if there is no vision in front of him right now, he feels it. It is clearer than taste or smell. Then we need to focus on managing the Eagle's forces, and Terry will focus on support. The best option is to anticipate major crises, such as the cessation of L6 production. But of course, it will be impossible to always make 50-fold profits. But if something like this happens again, the financial sector will be devastated. The economic news will still be full of talk of production shutdowns, and it will take months for the effects to subside. Suddenly, Eugene yells at Terry to stop sleeping and look at it. A foreign company is alleged to have been actively buying put options just before Seo Sung announced it was ceasing production, with the put options' alleged profits running into the billions, leading financial firms to request an investigation from the Financial Supervisory Authority. They took it all too lightly. If you look at the chronology, it's obviously suspicious. They should have at least spread it out among several accounts. They couldn't have expected the situation to escalate like this back then, but they hadn't done anything wrong. If you make a profit by buying with the expectation of rising prices, on long positions, you will be praised. But if you make a profit by buying with the expectation of falling prices, on short positions, be prepared for criticism. With long positions, you make money along with other investors, while with short positions, you make money when others lose, so no one will be happy for you. In any case, it's not a problem, but they may attract attention again. 2 lottery wins in a row would make anyone suspicious. They need to think about other methods of earning money. After all, short positions have their limitations. Unlike long positions, short positions go against the market flow and are only good for short-term trades, but in the long term, the market will inevitably rise. The global economy has already survived numerous major downturns, 2 world wars, various terrorist attacks, a financial crisis, and much more. Each time, the system collapsed and dire forecasts were given, but the market always recovered, learned from its mistakes, and grew. Without a new financial crisis, it will be impossible to invest billions in short positions. They should build the majority of their assets into long positions and use short positions only as a response measure in emergency situations. Therefore, it is necessary to make OTK company a holding company and acquire shares in other companies. The main idea is to acquire them based on growth potential, and in the case of companies with better performance, to acquire a controlling stake and make them subsidiaries. Their goal will be to double their capital within 3 years. From 670 billion, they will get more than 1 trillion. They will position themselves in this way, and will put several hundred billion on futures and options based on predictions. This is the principle of hedging. Terry loves it. The options are really the best. Eugene says he's already obsessed with them. Eugene suggests starting with an analysis of the Kospi 200, a Korean stock index that includes the 200 largest companies. In fact, this is just a check of public reports on the internet. If a prediction appears in the process, that would be great. Eugene has been searching for ages and still no results. Looks like I'll have to analyze every company in Kospi. It's almost midnight. He didn't expect the matter to reach a dead end. Terry brings a stack of paper. Eugene's eyes must be sore after staring at the screen all day, so he printed everything out. Eugene didn't sleep all night, and he knew one thing for sure. They're barking up the wrong tree. No predictions are needed to understand this. The direction is correct, but the search method is generally ineffective. If there was a prediction like the top 20 investment opportunities, then there would be nothing to worry about. For large companies with market capitalizations in the tens of trillions, nothing will happen. But for companies with market capitalizations of less than 1 trillion, their intervention could cause either a surge in stock prices or a collapse. It's like an elephant jumping into a small pond, the water splashes out, and when he comes out, the water level is already lower. Nothing comes easy. The bigger the fund gets, the harder it is to manage, Terry asks. What about foreign stocks then? There are developing markets like Vietnam, India, and China, and there are great companies like Enpal and Google. The idea is good, but without connections, it won't be implemented. Terry suggests hiring a financial expert who has good knowledge of foreign markets. If they want to play in the big leagues, they will definitely need help from people in the industry. Even with good information, there are limits to how much they can analyze and decide on their own regarding investment strategy. Whether it's a holding company, a hedge fund, or a private equity firm, the best CEOs have always had the best teams behind them. They can create an investment company as a subsidiary of OTK and gather the talent they need under their wing. Eugene will set the direction of investments based on his predictions, and they will build an organization capable of executing that strategy. Terry, someone is calling. Judging by his face, Eugene knows who it is. It's incredible that the top talent he wanted to hire calls first. Helen asks why Terry isn't in. He says he just moved yesterday. Helen tells him to send her his address and stay put. She goes, "There is just a reason for the meeting." Helen seems very angry, probably because Terry screwed up a couple of times, but it was much more often. Helen smokes. Terry says passive smoking is bad for your health. You need to ventilate the room. Helen tells him to sit down. She asks what kind of house it is. Terry says that he bought it and plans to live here now. Helen asks to explain what is going on. She asks where the billions in his accounts come from. Eugene asks her to put down the ashtray. Terry didn't think that was why Helen was here. She says don't pretend it's not important. The L6 explosion is currently the hottest topic in the global financial community, causing the shares of SEO Sung Electronics and the Korean stock market to plummet, while financial companies that were somehow involved with it suffered huge losses. But the thing is, there are rumors that before the incident, a certain company bought a large number of put options on SEO Sung Electronics and Kospi 200 shares, resulting in a huge profit. And this company has an account at Golden Gate, where Helen works, thanks to which the balance of the Asian branch account has grown by more than $600 million. There are countless fictitious companies with names made up of random letters, so Helen thought OTK Company was just one of them. But then she received a call from a senior colleague whose contact information she had given them. And he mentioned that he had processed a transfer of over 10 billion won from an overseas account to a domestic one. Since she opened this account herself, she can check the transaction history. Helen was shocked to see 672 billion. That's 5,000% profit from put options. It turns out their story even reached the Golden Gate. Helen asks if Terry really bought Seo-sung Electronics options, and he answers in the affirmative. Terry asks if it's really that big of a problem. Because of this, the financial watchdog requested documents from Golden Gate. These are OTK company transactions and company owner data, but they haven't received that data yet. Golden Gate doesn't even know who owns the company. They only know the country it was founded in. Customer information can't be transferred so easily. The Financial Supervision Service cannot be simply refused. This only applies to domestic financial institutions. Eugene asks on what basis they requested the data. They are suspected of insider trading, but they don't even know what it is. Public companies are required to disclose any information that is important to investors, but some information remains confidential within the business. No one can trade on non-public information until it is disclosed. This undermines confidence in financial markets. In the worst case, if their profits are found to be ill-gotten gains, they will consider it illegal activity and confiscate all 672 billion. Helen asks to explain who told Terry to do this. He says it was Eugene. Then Helen asks where he got the information. Eugene doesn't know what to answer. They don't seem to understand the current situation at all. This can't be swept under the rug if they can't explain themselves. It will be considered a financial crime. Helen demands to know how Eugene got the information. Otherwise, the house will be turned upside down. Terry asks to hear him out first, but Eugene says he will explain everything. Due to several L6 explosions that could have been caused by early defects, he decided to discontinue it. And this at a time when Seo-sung's stock was at its all-time high. Having come to this conclusion from his own analysis, Eugene told Terry about it, and he, taking him at his word, bet 13 billion won. That is, it has nothing to do with insider trading, even though they are hiding part of the story. Given the situation, it is simply a matter of self-preservation. Eugene's position is to rely on his position to the end. Terry's position is to completely trust other people's opinions. Helen asks if they have heard about the Deutsche Bank scandal. This is a case where they bet on the stock to fall and manipulated the price to make a profit. The experts who pulled this off earned only 50 million won, but they earned 10 times more. The Deutsche case forced stricter regulations. Otherwise, securities companies and investment funds would have collapsed one after another. In the current situation, it's unlikely that everything will be controlled. Domestic companies are close to losing their entire annual profits. Even with hedging, Golden Gate lost $20 million. But two investors profited by using a diabolical financial instrument in an even more diabolical way, in which case they were very lucky to have created a corporation in an offshore zone. If OTK Company were a Korean corporation, they would be sitting on metal chairs in the financial department right now. But since they say it is not insider trading, they don't have to worry. They didn't manipulate stock prices, but from their point of view, from the point of view of the financial institutions that lost trillions, they are their main enemy. Helen asks what Terry plans to do with the money in the account. He said that he split the company's shares with Eugene. He gets 80% and Terry 20%. Eugene is the largest shareholder of OTK Company. He provided the information and bought the put options, and Terry simply gave the money. In finance, it is common for the one who provides the capital to receive a larger share of the profits. Even a 50-50 split is difficult to understand, and giving 80% is a shock. This means that OTK Company practically belongs to Eugene. If they want to continue investing, he needs to be at the helm. This time it was just luck. Terry says he has a plan. He has put aside 13 billion won. This amount of money will easily last him for the rest of his life. Helen asks what two children can do. So they need her help. Terry will give her 3% of his shares. That's about 20 billion won. You could say all her future salaries, 20 billion profit at once. Terry is a generous otaku. Eugene agrees with his opinion. Maybe Helen is afraid that he will manage OTK Company irresponsibly. She doesn't even have to quit her job. She can continue to receive data from Golden Gate. And staying at her job is even more profitable. Helen asks Eugene to buy her stronger coffee. A genius since childhood, she entered the economics department of a Korean university with top marks without tutoring, and then got a job at Golden Gate, one of the most demanding global investment banks. Helen was recognized for her abilities and promoted to team leader in the Asian branch. Meanwhile, her brother, who had done nothing for half his life, became a billionaire overnight. I wonder how she felt when he offered her a job. Helen agreed to help. She asks Terry to buy her cigarettes. He asks why him and not Eugene. Helen's look is enough to make Terry go. Eugene thanks her for agreeing to help. It's unlikely that anyone would refuse 20 billion. If not her, then they would obviously have found someone else. Eugene notes to himself that then they wouldn't have offered shares. This is the first time Terry has tried to do something serious outside of his hobbies. This is the first time Eugene has seen him so motivated. Without it, they wouldn't have even started. Eugene knows how risky this investment was. No matter how confident he was, it was too much. The thought of it still makes him break out in a cold sweat. But he respects the result nonetheless. To invest 13 billion and earn 672 is impressive. In this regard, everything is wonderful. Helen asks why Eugene wants to invest. He says that he started with a specific goal, and maybe he still doesn't have one. It's nice to have a lot of money. In a capitalist society, material abundance is practically synonymous with happiness. He doesn't know why he has this ability, but now it no longer seems possible to live as before. All great investors achieved success through their own unique investment methods and thus became legends. Eugene does not have a unique investment method like them, but he does have foresight. In a broader sense, foresight is an investment method. Luck and intuition are also important. Eugene is confident that this is what he does best. The financial world is not as simple as it seems. It is full of both experts and scammers. Helen has been working here for almost 10 years and is still learning the market. She would rather not see them rush headlong into that sphere. Eugene assures that no matter what happens, Terry will not be harmed. Helen reassures him that Eugene is his partner. She will be happy to work with the CEO of OTK Company. Eugene would also be happy to work with Helen. So they've acquired a highly skilled third team member. OTK Company will operate as a holding company. And Eugene also plans to create a separate investment company. The question is which company he will choose and how he will take it over. There are many possibilities. Let Eugene know if you need materials. Helen also wanted to know if they were planning to change the name. Terry asks, what's wrong with OTK Company? Helen thinks it sounds like short for otaku. But it's short for Oliver Terry Kane. Terry doesn't like his first name. There are many companies in the world named after their founders. But there is no need to change the name and break the prediction. It's better to respect the founder's opinion and leave it as is. Eugene offers to give Helen 3% of his share, but she is Terry's sister, so it is better for her to take it from him. And besides, the larger the share of the main shareholder, the better. They need a competent and reliable person to lead the investment company, someone who can replace Eugene to implement the plan. He is out of options, but he has already spoken about it with Helen and asked her to also send him materials on the latest trends in the market. It turns out she already sent them. It's an internal Golden Gate report. High-quality information that's hard for ordinary people to access. Terry asks if it's legal to use something like that. He got it legally. Terry seems to have forgotten that they are Golden Gate's top clients. Being top clients, they can request and receive various data. Everything is in English, partially understandable. The main thing is the numbers and graphs. It's mostly about the fourth industrial revolution. This transition from a digital society to an era of automation, where everything is connected through the development of robotics and artificial intelligence, Terry still doesn't understand, and neither does Eugene. Then they call him. This is Peter Steele, inviting him to dinner. Eugene comments that he looks great in a suit. Peter says there is something important. He is paying today, so let Eugene eat as much as he wants. He is paying for last time. Eugene asks if Peter needs to go to the academy today. He says that he quit and paid off all his debts. He did say that he had quite a lot left. It's all thanks to Eugene. He said that the L6 will be taken out of production. Peter also confirmed that there were many explosions. Eugene thinks he also bought put options on SEO Sung Electronics, but Peter didn't. He didn't think it would come to a stop sale. Realizing that the explosions were continuing, Peter assumed that there was a high probability of the battery being replaced, and if the battery was replaced, the manufacturer would suffer greatly. He had 700,000 won left after paying off his debt for a month, so he bought all the put options on SEO Sung SB. Peter made 150 million from this. As expected, that's the power of options. It's hard to stop once you've tasted the profit. Eugene only mentioned the cessation of production to Peter in passing, and he seized on this slim opportunity with both hands, as expected of a special man. He left the academy, having paid off his debt, and then went into a department store and bought a suit, which is what people usually wear before going to an interview. Peter asks how much they made. Eugene considers how much he should reduce their profit estimate. Peter thinks it's about 500 billion. He learned from a friend in the financial sector that a foreign company had bought up put options in SEO Sung Electronics, so maybe this was about them. Eugene says, definitely not. They have nowhere to get such huge capital. Peter also thought it was funny at first. However, Terry lost about 10,000 Banth coins. If he had found the encryption key, this money would have been enough. It seems Peter figured it out just from these bits of information. His friend said the company that deployed it was probably Japanese. The name of the company is OTK Company. Eugene's friend's name is Oliver Terry Kane. Eugene had forgotten that Peter was known as a genius at Fanguk University. If this gets out, Eugene and Terry could be in tomorrow's papers. It's something they'll have to go through one day. But now isn't the time. Eugene asks to keep this a secret. Peter promises that as a former president of an investment club, he never talked much, so he can be trusted. He asks where they plan to invest in the future. If they weren't going to continue, there would be no need to create a corporation. But initially it wasn't for investment, but for selling Terry's cryptocurrency. Peter knew Eugene would definitely succeed, but he didn't expect him to do something this big. To beat the market, you need more than just calculations and analysis. Peter invested only based on analysis and failed. He couldn't calculate the likelihood that an investment company would lose tens of billions of dollars due to phishing. He was just unlucky. It took him a long time to realize that there are many things in the market that cannot be calculated, things that cannot be written down and solved mathematically. "I can calculate the movements of the heavenly bodies, but not the madness of the crowd," said Isaac Newton. This is a fairly well-known expression in the financial world. Newton was known as a physicist, but he worked in different fields. The market is ruled by fear and madness. No matter how rational a person is, it is difficult to remain calm in any situation. Eugene has intuition, which is why Peter chose him as the next chairman. He always said that when they drank. Peter asks for an answer, since he is wearing a suit for an interview today. It looks like he wants to join them. Eugene CEO let him act as he sees fit. No matter how much intuition and foresight they have, they are limited in how far they can go, which is why Eugene invited Helen. Financial investments are a battle with numbers. New derivatives are being created with a high degree of financial integration. Peter specializes in mathematical analysis. He is able to draw rational and objective conclusions based on numbers, which is precisely why such a person came to them. From a bad point of view, he came to grasp at straws, but Eugene even likes it. This is the basic knowledge of financiers, to use any chance to make money. Eugene says that he is currently the CEO of OTK Company. He needs someone competent enough to bring his vision to life. Peter is older. You need to pour with both hands. Eugene would never hear such things from him again. From now on, he intends to study the market thoroughly. Age doesn't matter. What matters is ability. A capable person is someone who can produce big numbers. Eugene has achieved this, and therefore it makes sense to work under him. In fact, there is no doubt that Peter is a more capable person than Eugene and Terry. It is the CEO's responsibility to be able to attract such people. He is accepted. Peter can finally catch his breath. He was a little nervous. He asks what he should call Eugene, CEO or president. Eugene says he can call him whatever he usually calls him. They will come up with official titles when they have a lot of employees. The team now also includes Terry's older sister, Helen Kane. She is also the head of Golden Gate's Asian branch and has been very helpful with legal and administrative matters. They say Peter was a popular tutor. Not that he was popular, but when he said he was leaving, they offered him a promotion to keep him. It would have been better if they had done it earlier. Everything would have been fine if he had stayed. But he was already tired of sitting in one place. Peter wants to ride the wave of change in the industry. For example, when Apple's smartphone first came out, it was either ignored or ridiculed by manufacturers on the market at the time. They believed that no one would buy a device that simply combined existing functions, which have long been superseded today. Geniuses change the world, and ordinary people notice it only after the changes have happened. But even without being the most insightful, you can ride this wave. Now is just such a chance. Peter was busy teaching, but he was probably keeping an eye on the situation. Terry suggests raising a toast since everyone is in agreement. For the quality control company. In the morning, Eugene finds himself lying on the floor. Tomorrow is already New Year. Eugene calls his mother. They agree to meet tomorrow. Eugene thinks that some kind of investment idea must come, a hint about where to invest next. Terry woke up. He was dying of thirst. Eugene's phone rings. Terry sees it's Cheryl. Eugene asks if he wants to sleep some more. Terry says Eugene is being so kind today and wants to answer the phone for him as a thank you. Cheryl thinks he doesn't have her number saved because he hasn't answered in so long. Eugene says he just woke up, but Cheryl called a few days ago too, asking if he had eaten. Eugene says he was just getting ready. Cheryl was getting ready to eat too. Maybe he wants to join in. Come to think of it, he found out about the L6 being discontinued thanks to her, so he should at least give her a treat for that. They agree to meet at 2 o'clock in front of the Galleria department store. Terry asks who this Cheryl is. Eugene says she's just a freshman from university. At such an important moment, the CEO of OTK company cannot go on dates. He must remember his obligations. Eugene offers to talk when he returns. Eugene has almost no cash, and he hasn't restored his card yet. Everything at the department store is probably expensive. Eugene asks Terry to lend him money. There's no point in having billions if they're all in foreign accounts. He needs 100,000 won. Terry advises spending them wisely, without excesses. Eugene is dating Cheryl. She suggests ordering udon. There's a popular place nearby. Cheryl was surprised when Eugene said that he would go all the way to her area. He said that he moved and now lives with a friend nearby. Since he lives in Gangnam, which means they will meet more often now as neighbors. Eugene wonders if she has always been this friendly. It's unlikely that Cheryl is such a person in real life, since she was friends with his ex, and she can't stand excessive friendliness. I wonder why she is so kind to him then. She looks good when she eats. Cheryl says she will pay. It was she who suggested meeting, so the bill is on her. Next time Eugene can treat her to something even better. Cheryl says she didn't want to eat alone, so she's glad he came. Eugene thinks no one cooks at her house, but it turns out she lives alone. In that house over there, in a huge apartment by the Han River, Cheryl suggests taking a look. There's a great walking route inside the complex, and there's a residents-only cafe with a river view where you can get coffee. Eugene says it's a great place. Cheryl thinks it's probably even better where he moved to. It's funny, but people rarely visit the attractions near home. She has lived here since childhood. She moved during the reconstruction, but returned about 6 months ago. Her parents work abroad. Property prices here are very high, with the smallest apartments costing around 2.5 billion won. Gangnam really knows no bounds. If the apartment has a view of the Han River, then it's a huge plus. But still, 2.5 billion won for an apartment is too much. When it first hit the market, the price was around 2 billion. Even then, people complained that the price was too high. If you had invested in it at that time, the profit would now be 500 million. Cheryl wants Eugene to answer one question honestly. Ever since they went together to change her phone, she's been thinking about it a lot lately. There is something that is bothering her. She asks how Eugene found out about the L6 being discontinued. So that's the thing. Eugene recalls that she had already asked him about this on the phone, but he had dodged the question. Immediately after the release, everyone went crazy. They even called him a bomb. Eugene seemed so confident. Cheryl thought one of the suppliers had tipped him off. He says he doesn't have such connections. He himself foresaw this, so it is worth hoping that the eagle will appear again soon. It would be great to know in advance. It would save Cheryl from unnecessary hassle, transferring contacts, photos. The worst thing is that her mother is very upset. She says that she would have sold the shares earlier if she had known. They are gradually recovering, but she is still in the red. Perhaps she should sell them now. Eugene says that if he were her, he would hold them back. Although they are in decline now, everything will return to normal with the release of the new model. Cheryl asks if people will still buy SEO Sung phones even after everything that happened. Eugene says that this incident just showed the loyalty of users to the brand. Most, including Cheryl, chose exchange rather than return. SEO Sung's main product is not phones but semiconductors. The core of the fourth industrial revolution is communication. Semiconductors are the essence of the Internet of Things era. In a monopolistic field like semiconductors, supply is inflexible due to the nature of the business, making it difficult to balance supply and demand. But in the case of semiconductors, everything will only go up. And since SEO Sung is the largest company producing them, their profits are guaranteed. But this is just his personal opinion. He is not an expert. However, even so-called financial experts can be wrong. There are a lot of fund managers who can't keep up with the market. And if no one is sure about anything, maybe Cheryl should take his word for it. Then she won't sell shares for now. She bought them with her pocket money when they went down, and now she's stuck, taking 20 shares. With a house worth over 20 billion won and stocks worth over 20 million from pocket money alone, Eugene wonders what kind of family she comes from. Here, Cheryl meets her neighbor, who says that she can't sit at home. She thinks Eugene is her boyfriend. Cheryl has grown up so much that it's time for her to get married. Eugene says they just go to school together. Cheryl says she just turned 20, but in her neighbor's time, people her age were already having children. She offers Cheryl money, but she says it's not worth it. She has plenty of it. When grandma offers, you have to say thank you. This woman has been looking after Cheryl since childhood. She used to have a shop in a shopping center. Now she lives in the neighboring house. She has 3 houses, including the one where her children live. In the case of the cheapest price for 3 houses, it is almost 7 billion. Not at all an average granny. All the people here are like her. Their pockets are bursting with money. According to Cheryl, 40 years ago her neighbor moved here not for investment, but simply to live. And later she bought another apartment to live closer to her children. at which time the apartment cost 18 million won. Over the course of several years, the housing complex has undergone major renovations. As a result, the two buildings became 3 separate residences, as they are now. During this period, the price of housing increased from 18 million to 1.5 billion. 3 years ago, the average price rose to 2 billion. If we take into account only the net profit, the biggest winner was the woman they had just met. Companies work the same way. The main goal of most corporations is to go public. As soon as they get listed on Kosdaq, the founders, initial investors, and managers of the IPO, the first public sale of shares of a private company, make huge profits and celebrate. Investors who buy shares after a company is listed experience little profit or loss. But to invest in a successful company, it's best to do so before it gets listed, and ideally in the earliest stages to maximize your profits. Eugene went down a completely different path. He finally realized what to do. He says he needs to go and suggest they have coffee next time. Just like last time, he got something out of their meeting. If everything works out, Eugene will treat Cheryl to a sumptuous dinner. And again he runs away. He sends a message to Helen. He needs something. He will send a list. Eugene returns home and says that now is not the time to play games. He knows what they should do. Terry thinks he had a vision. Eugene says not quite, and asks him to listen. Listening to Cheryl's story, he realized that apartment renovations and the IPO process were similar. So Eugene only went to Cheryl because she was a freshman at the university. Eugene asks if that was really the only thing that interested Terry in his story. During the Industrial Revolution, new industries displaced old ones, just as cars displaced carts. But it took more than a century for carts to disappear completely. Whereas in the modern world, some industries are replaced in less than 50 years. Online short-term rental platform Airbnb has surpassed hotel chain Hilton in revenue without owning a single room. And the car exchange service Uber has surpassed the traditional GN market. Each of them was an ordinary foal, but grew into a unicorn worth tens of trillions. In the era of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, such cases are becoming more and more common. Of course, their survival phase is short, on average 3 years. But some, like the ones Eugene cited, survive and grow into corporations that will lead the future of the economy. The first step is to choose companies that have a chance of survival. Although this is easy only in words, promising companies can go bankrupt overnight. Now Terry understood why Eugene had started talking about apartments. He suggests moving up the timing of their investment, even when it was unknown whether the housing complex would be reconstructed. Thanks to a premonition of something grand, he alone, a promising newcomer, understood the true value of the company. Finding promising newcomers so small and fragile is no easy task, no matter how you look at it. But for them it is the ability to predict. They use Foresight to find successful newcomers. Their next mission is hunting unicorns. The first morning of the new year has arrived. Health comes first. You need to not overdo it and beware of scammers. Terry takes care of Eugene. His mother asks if Terry wants more. He answers yes. Perhaps he is overeating. Eugene's mother can take the bus, but a taxi has already been called. The house is beautiful and the area is great. Eugene suggests moving here. We can find an even better place. The house his father built is the best. Seeing his mother so happy makes Eugene want to work even harder. She'll drop by to see them again. Eugene needs to watch his diet. She left soup in the freezer. Now it's time to get back to work. Eugene received a list of Golden Gate's seed investment bank. They even included those who were almost rejected on the list. Those who have already attracted investment can always find other investors. Moreover, this is almost crucial. These companies are somewhat proven and ready for rapid growth by receiving investment funds. They won't even watch it for a week, but for Helen, it's business as usual. Daily monitoring of funds, bonds, and commodity exchanges, checking political and global economic trends. She starts early, finishes late, and puts in a lot of overtime during rush hour. Joining Golden Gate, landing a dream job in finance, and becoming a team leader is something not every talented person can achieve, even with all their efforts. Eugene asks if Helen and Terry are definitely related by blood. In any case, it will be difficult to figure this out on your own, so foresight is necessary. But Terry got him into the action for this reason. If it was intentional, then he is a genius. At night, Terry sleeps and Eugene is still working. Here he has a familiar feeling. Something new this time. Eugene scatters papers around the room. Terry wakes up and says that the lack of a prediction is not a reason to start a pogrom. Eugene says there is a reason. He can't explain it. But his perception seems to have improved, and he asks to arrange the sheets so that they don't overlap. The main thing is that Eugene sees the information. Eugene tells everyone to put everything he gives to Terry in the shredder. This is not the final result, but only the initial stage of filtering out unsuccessful options. In the second stage, he will concentrate and read more carefully until that feeling appears. From this moment on, the battle of endurance begins. But this is not Terry's battle, but Eugene's. He lays out papers on the pool table. Another night is coming. Meanwhile, Terry is thinking about which character to choose. 10 days later, the list is reduced to a small pile. Terry suggests that Eugene relax, but he says that if he rests now, he will lose his grip. He was able to do so much in 10 days only because his senses had become heightened. The more he used them, the stronger they became. Terry isn't even listening. We need to hold on a little longer. Eugene finds himself among the stars. He sees a unicorn, and the unicorn sees him. He rushes towards Eugene, and flies right over him. He sees something. Unicorns emerge from blue stars. He found them. Eugene wakes up. He asks how long he slept. Terry says about 20 hours. He seemed to have passed out while reading the documents and dreamed of unicorns. Eugene can't remember anything. Terry says he wrote everything down. They have a list, so they can work. Their investment targets are companies that have not yet entered the stock market, perhaps. They need a dedicated team to handle the negotiations. Organizing an investment company and building a team will take several months. Companies rejected by Golden Gate will seek new investors. We need to act quickly now. Eugene has an idea of how best to proceed in order not to miss anyone from the prediction. This can be called a two-track strategy. After some time, Peter comes to Golden Gate. They want to introduce him to someone. He is so nervous that he came very early. Maybe it is time to go in already. They are busy people. It would be better for him to wait outside. If they say they are Golden Gate brokers, the startup directors will want to meet with them. Helen asks if Eugene checked her letter about the brokerage commission. It is 2% of the total investment. The commission on $500 million would be $9 million. Even if they decided not to invest at all, the minimum commission would be $3 million. Terry asks why the commission is so high. Eugene says that without Helen, the commission would be twice as high. They have to pay it whether they like it or not. The scale of capital involved is on a completely different level than in St. Petersburg. Terry asks where they can find foreign startups to invest in. Eugene says that those who need them will find them themselves. You just need to invite them. If you use the name OTK in Korea, the Financial Supervisory Authority will not sit idly by. They have done nothing wrong, but the problem is that their identities will be revealed during the investigation. The media and society will not remain silent. Details of their past will be circulating all over the internet. Not only will they criticize their income from short positions, but they will also criticize the fact that their corporation is founded in an offshore zone. Although they are both happy with their current lives, it will definitely be unpleasant. Moreover, it is obvious that even the address where Eugene's mother lives will be revealed. But this doesn't mean that we should forget about investing in Korean startups. A way must be found. As he said, they will use a two-track strategy, because everything is fine as long as OTK does not interact with them directly. Eugene calls Peter. Apparently, this is the man he wanted to introduce to Helen. Eugene says it's the senior from his university, Peter Steele, he mentioned earlier. Peter didn't expect to be talking to the head of Golden Gate's Asian branch. Eugene suggests they act as usual. Peter asks how he knew he was outside the door. He was always punctual, so Eugene assumed he would be on time. Peter would definitely prioritize the director's schedule and be waiting outside the door. So Eugene assumed that he would wait for the right time. He probably heard their conversation. They plan to open an investment company as a subsidiary of OTK. The corporation will own all the shares. The capital is 70 billion won. Eugene wants to entrust this company to Peter. They will start with an annual salary of 100 million won, depending on how things go. He will receive shares in the subsidiary, 2% per year for 10 years, a total of 20%. It's like a stock option. 70 billion could be enough to start a full-fledged stock company, and Eugene entrusts Peter with that kind of capital. The bold remarks he made at their last meeting were based on formulas that Peter considered abstract, having nothing to do with reality. But now he has a man in front of him who actually works with such numbers, and also someone who invested money wisely and grew from nothing. And Eugene's friend is here for a reason too. Although it seems that Peter doesn't belong here, his brain is already calculating the possibilities. He expected to be an assistant, but not the general director of a subsidiary company. His legendary investment decisions during his university years, his judgment on the L6 put options, and Peter's approach to Eugene based on little more than a tip. His determination to overcome the bankruptcy crisis and return everything responsibly. It would be hard to find someone more suitable than Peter. There is still time while they are looking for an office, so he can think about it. On the way here, Peter had already made a preliminary agreement regarding the office. He did say that the sooner the better. This is not some random place. Peter had already once considered different options where he could open an office. The location and size are just what Eugene wanted. He said Peter was perfect. Now that they are all here, we can decide on a name for the company. Just don't tell me Terry still wants to call it Royal Blood Company. The fact that Eugene hasn't changed at all in this relentless war of numbers is more impressive than anything else. Peter, although surprised, understood the situation based on their current conversation. If he heard it correctly, OTK wants to invest in domestic companies, maintaining a special relationship with Golden Gate, but hiding the relationship with the subsidiary. The K in OTK can be seen as a keeper, a protector. The name K Company might be appropriate. A one-letter name that sounds strong. Eugene likes it too. Then she congratulates Peter on his new position as CEO of the investment company K Company. After the meeting, Helen helped Eugene establish a branch of K Company in Korea. He gave Peter a flash drive with a list of Korean startups, assigned personnel from Golden Gate to K Company, and transferred all authority to him. They soon arrive at the hotel. Terry asks why they chose this particular location since the ocean view is much better. Eugene says that the airport is close, and it is much easier to keep an eye on investors. Golden Gate attorneys will assist at meetings. There is one international expert they definitely need. He will come to the conference room a little later since the airport is nearby, probably soon. She's already here. This is Ellie Kim, an attorney with the Golden Gate legal team. Eugene didn't expect to see a young girl, Terry says. Apparently the CEO wanted to go on a date again. It turns out Ellie speaks Korean. Her grandfather is Korean. Ellie will unpack her suitcase and come back. Eugene asks where she is from. Helen says Ellie is Korean from Hong Kong. Thanks to her family, she can speak 4 languages. She knows Cantonese, Mandarin, English, and Korean. She's the same age as Eugene, and there really are some amazing people in the world. Helen has already told Ellie about Eugene. Although inside Golden Gate they don't know the owners of OTK, she knows that they have a special relationship. Lawyers are bound by confidentiality, so Eugene needn't worry, he says. Because Helen thinks she can be trusted, so she must be. Helen asks if Eugene will take an active part in the meeting. He completely delegates all the bureaucracy, but will be present in person. He wants to see for himself what kind of people run the company. There are 2 types of corporate investing, lending and buying shares. In the second case, owning shares allows one to participate in management, and sometimes this leads to difficulties with the division of rights. Terry says they're just going to enjoy the profits from growth without interfering with the company's operations. Eugene asks Terry if he's nervous, and he says it's Helen and Ellie who should be nervous. The hastily acquired suit seems very strange, but they seem to be very comfortable. Maybe it's because they are the financial elite. They look so relaxed, as if this is part of their routine. You should at least check the schedule. Ellie asks what happened. Eugene says nothing. Enter Toby Strong and Gerald Bacon. Successful companies must be able to communicate the essence of their business. Eugene isn't quite sure. Toby says Faceit's goal is to become the Netflix for adults. The adult industry is currently worth $15 billion in the United States, and the estimated value worldwide could reach hundreds of billions. If illegal activity is taken into account, the figure would be 10 times higher. Current companies providing such content are simply following old business models and have not kept up with changes. Terry asks what they're talking about. Eugene is now talking about market analysis. A successful example for Toby and Gerald's face, it is Netflix, which uses large amounts of data to provide users with the content they want. Intending to use the latest technology to create original content, they plan to dominate the online video services market in the adult industry. Helen asks if they think it's a problem that Faceit is going to limit itself to adult content. Toby says that the amount of adult content produced worldwide every day would be enough for one person to last a lifetime. The genres are also divided in detail. There is enough for everyone and for every taste. Helen asks if people really watch so much adult content, as they can always find it if they need it. It's unlikely that Helen knows more about adult content than Terry or Eugene. After discussions, they invested $9 million to acquire 80% of Faceit. The next meeting was with Max and Milo's M-Pizza, where by using automated equipment they reduced labor costs, and by preparing food in delivery vans, they realized the idea of delivering freshly baked pizzas. Delivery of fresh and delicious pizza is a real innovation. In America, for example, they love pizza very much, and most likely they will be sensitive to the slightest changes in taste. After another protracted discussion, they invested $7.5 million in M-Pizza. Eugene was very tired. It's not hard to just sit, but they operate with such large sums of money, it's mentally tiring. He's amazed at how calmly Helen handles everything. They have several meetings in a row tomorrow, so it's best to get a good night's sleep. However, Eugene decides to get some air. Staying in a 5-star hotel and investing in startups might be the success Sally was talking about. Eugene meets Ellie and is surprised that she is exercising at such an hour. Ellie says she decided to stretch her legs after a long flight and go for a little run before bed. She just finished. Ellie offers Eugene a beer. He asks Ellie if this is her first time in Korea. She is here for the third time, although it is her first time for work. Her arrival helped them a lot. Ellie found this interesting. She couldn't believe that OTK, the company that had turned the financial industry upside down, was owned by Helen's younger brother and his friend. L6 explosions have become a global problem. Not only financial institutions, but even Golden Gate could not avoid huge losses. Against this backdrop, an unknown company, OTK, made hundreds of millions, and thanks to this, Golden Gate's bank account in Asia grew by $600 million, causing everyone to go crazy. Eugene knew the general outline of the situation, but he only heard Helen's opinion. Now, when people tell him this to his face, the feeling is completely different. What he did attracted the attention of the entire financial world. Eugene says that he was simply lucky. Predicting that the L6 will be discontinued and blindly investing in options is not just some kind of luck. If it hadn't been for Terry's money and his insistence on his own, without the support of Helen and Peter, no matter what he had foreseen, he would never have achieved such results on his own. People think that OTK is a Japanese investment company. The name is easily misunderstood. Ellie thought it was a joke, but when she found out the name of Eugene's friend, she understood everything, unintentionally. But fortunately, it sounds like the name of a foreign company. They would like to drink more, but they should also think about tomorrow. They will see each other tomorrow. Ellie remembers. She is curious about something. She asks which actor Eugene likes. He would like to keep this a secret. Today they have a meeting with a Chinese startup. China has seen economic growth over the past decade. Many people are starting their own business, and the number of Chinese startups is growing day by day, like bamboo after rain. They are engaged in transport logistics. Despite the fact that the railway has been built across the country, China still relies on transport logistics, the main problem of which, according to the logistician, is unsystematic management. For example, when a truck from Shanghai delivers goods to Xi'an, if it cannot find anything to load on the return trip, it must return empty. The two developed an app that coordinates transport agencies and drivers to optimize delivery routes, reducing logistics costs by 30%. Helen asks if they can build such a large network on their own. Reducing the number of operations also helps solve traffic and environmental problems, and may even attract significant support from the Chinese government, which is also concerned about these issues. The atmosphere seems tense. They are talking about something. Eugene does not understand a word of Chinese. Ellie says in Chinese that they are not scammers. They value their ideas highly. The startup representatives are surprised that Ellie speaks Chinese and ask where she is from. Eugene doesn't know what Ellie said, but his mood improved. The logistician, who seemed wary of them, became more decisive, and negotiations regarding shares and investments proceeded more freely. The remaining contracts were secured through Helen's skillful negotiations. Once they've chosen the companies to invest in, Eugene has nothing else to do. Helen is incredible. He has a lot to learn from her. They haven't had a day off for a long time. Terry says he will work from his room. Ellie asks Eugene if he is busy. She wants him to show her soul. Helen asks if she's asking Eugene out on a date. You could say that. Then Ellie goes to get ready. She suggests meeting in the lobby in an hour. Maybe this is some kind of Hong Kong joke. Eugene is waiting for Ellie in the lobby. Ellie asks if she looks okay. Terry suddenly approaches Eugene and hands him the key. He gives him a car. Terry can only trust her to Eugene. He suggests not thinking about it as anything special and just enjoying the date. Just let him be careful and not hurt his precious Kumi. Eugene has met her so many times and still doesn't know her name. He asks if Ellie wants to go somewhere. She wants to go to a Korean university. Before this, Ellie had only visited work-related places and attractions. Helen often told her about this university, and Eugene also studied there. Eugene doesn't mind showing up at the university. The problem is that they are driving Terry's car. At least it's a lucky day that it's holidays. If rumors spread that he drives such a car, the very thought makes him sick. They come to the university. Ellie notices that it's huge and asks if visitors can come in. Eugene says some rooms are for students only. Stop thinking about this car already. Then someone calls out to Eugene. They see a car. If it's a dream, now is the time to wake up. The student asks why they would even put something like that on a car. Isn't Eugene ashamed? It's none of her business what other people put on their cars. She says he should think about those who will see this. The mood immediately worsens. This is Mary Lee, the most arrogant girl in the business department. She hasn't changed at all. They tell him not to pay attention to her. She's been like this since birth. Eugene hasn't seen her for a long time, so he's a little out of the habit. Here Mary calls out to Sally and John. Now it's definitely time for Eugene to wake up. John asks what the gathering is for. Mary says that it's understandable that Eugene's parents' business went bankrupt and he's going through hard times. But still, it's not right to drive a car like that to university. Eugene asks Mary to have a conscience. She is indignant. How dare he raise his voice at her? His look is already an expression of violence. She will report him to the police. Ellie believes that these students are Eugene's friends. The guys are surprised who this beauty is. Ellie introduces herself and says she works at Golden Gate, and she gives them her business card. It makes an impression. The students think that Ellie is dating Eugene. Mary decides that he did something wrong since Ellie is a lawyer. John meets her. He asks if Ellie came to Korea for work or if she is traveling. Ellie says she has an important job here, but today she can say she is traveling. She and Eugene were stuck in a hotel for a few days, so she asked him to show her around a Korean university. The guys decide that they are bored together at the hotel. Eugene insists that this is not the case. John gives Ellie his business card. He works for GH Constructions. His father is the president. They have close ties to Golden Gate. Ellie knows this. Golden Gate provides project financing for industrial development projects for which GH Constructions is responsible in Indonesia. Golden Gate provided funds to this company. John gives his business card to Eugene, inviting him to call at any time if he needs help. I wonder if GH Constructions can help him with anything. Eugene says it gives him confidence, which puzzles John. Sally wants to leave. John says goodbye. He was glad to meet Ellie. The guys invite her to have lunch with them. They have a lot of questions about Golden Gate. Mary thinks there's nothing important about this company, and Eugene takes Ellie around like a trophy. After that, Ellie could hardly bear the barrage of questions, and that was how they ended their tour of the university. Seoul at night is beautiful. Eugene heard that Hong Kong is amazing at night too. Ellie says the girl who got into the big car was pretty. So this is Sally Green. She really is beautiful, just as Ellie heard, Terry told her. They met at the beginning of the semester, broke up less than a year later, and Eugene joined the army immediately after taking a leave of absence. Ellie asks if Eugene still likes Sally, and he says no. They broke up a long time ago. From tomorrow, they will be busy with business again. Ellie had fun on her date today. Eugene too. John soon learns that Sally was dating Eugene. She thinks John is jealous, but he denies it, and it's not like he didn't know they were dating. John notices Eugene has an unusual car. Sally says he has one strange friend, Oliver Terry Kane. Most likely this is his car. John wonders what kind of relationship he could possibly have with a Golden Gate lawyer. Apparently she works in the Asian branch, where Terry's older sister also works. That was good, but John had something else on his mind. Eugene's behavior did not change even after he learned of John's origins. In a capitalist society, having a lot of money is power in itself. The president of the Korean university, the administrators, professors, and students John met with throughout the day seemed good-natured at first glance, but they always bowed their heads to the power of money. But their conversation with him was similar to the usual conversation between students, which made John feel uncomfortable. Exactly the kind of attitude that people in a similar position or with similar income would show. John says that Sally's ex-boyfriend is quite interesting. From that day on, Eugene changed a lot. At the next meeting, they say that the development budget is $5 million, but it seems possible to reduce it to only $2.5 million through internal cuts. But $5 million is a small amount, and Eugene is stunned by how his scale has become so large. ARCID is built on the foundation of AI-powered architectural design, which will continue to evolve thanks to machine learning. Eugene asks what the limits of ARCID's design capabilities are, whether it will be able to design, for example, multi-story buildings. The startup's representative is 100% confident that, with ARCID's learning speed, it will be possible to build even skyscrapers in the near future. ARCID's goal is to continuously recognize drawings and design schemes to enable the design of increasingly complex buildings in the future. Eugene likes the idea, suggesting to do without management interference and internal cuts. Although South Korea's construction capabilities are world-class, they still lack the constructive part. They invest in ARCID. Terry asks Eugene what machine learning is. The next meeting is at 7 o'clock. Ellie is going to play squash and invites Eugene to join her, but he says he's out of shape. Last time, Eugene went in unsuspecting, and she took him out in 30 minutes, so he won't fall for anything again. Ellie invites Terry to play, but he is not thrilled with the offer either. Eugene remarks that Terry must have trouble with English, but he tries hard in meetings. In case anyone comes up with a great idea, like the Face It guys, Terry has to help, since his sister doesn't know anything about it. Since he is spending his money, he should at least know what it is going towards. Terry asks why Eugene always invests only in things like this. Maybe he should invest in something explosive that will bring in big money. Otherwise, the tension disappears. Eugene asks if he knows Sam Miles. Sounds familiar? I think it's the CEO of Softball, or Softbox. There's an interesting story about Sam Miles regarding Alibaba, a Chinese marketplace. In the early days, it was a small business thriving in China's e-commerce market, in which Abe held a controlling stake. When Softbox CEO Sam Miles visited Beijing on business, Michael Wayne, the founder of Alibaba, flew in immediately and asked for a meeting. After a 2-hour conversation, Sam Miles invested $20 billion. Of course, competing with Abe was generally perceived as throwing eggs at a stone. So Sam Miles received a severe reprimand from the Softbox board of directors. 20 years later, Abe was unable to cope with losses and left the Chinese market, while Alibaba dominated the Chinese e-commerce market and was even listed on the New York Stock Exchange. The current market capitalization is $330 billion, about 360 trillion won, which is more than Samsung Electronics. Softbox acquired 30% of Alibaba's shares for 22 billion won, bringing the profit to approximately 110 trillion. Terry did say that the tension disappears unless they invest in something explosive. Their investing method may not yield quick results, but like Sam Miles, only those who decide to invest quickly will reap the rewards. The chances of a startup being successful are less than 1%, but with foresight, 1% becomes 100. Sam Miles planted a huge seed worth 220 billion in fertile soil, and it grew to 110 trillion. The number of seeds they plant worldwide is 670 billion. You need to take your time and enjoy the process. Helen appears and asks if they are finished chatting. She suggests setting up a meeting. She just got a call from a company Eugene had been wanting to meet for a long time. Helen spoke to their representative, and they arranged a meeting. They are flying to Korea tomorrow. Not all the startups they pitched to were ultimately suitable. Some found other sources of investment or were already acquired, and Kairos rejected their offer. They are offering investments. It's not clear why they should refuse. They were unable to allocate to them the investment amount and the investment method they wanted. In short, they need a lot of money. They meet with Kairos CEO Ryan Gates and CFO Sergey Jovanovich. Jovanovich thinks Eugene and Terry are escorts. He asks who makes decisions on the OTK company side. Helen has full powers. Her decisions are the decisions of OTK company. Kairos needs $100 million. Ryan Gates asks if it is possible. If he is asking about financial possibilities, then it is definitely possible. They came themselves, but it seems they didn't expect anything special. Then Ryan offers to tell the company about the project. Helen already knows the details of the business, and she offers to talk about the current complexity of the situation within Kairos. Helen would like to hear about it from them personally. A briefing begins on the transformation of modern cars into complex electronic products. There are currently 2 pressing issues in this area: electric vehicles and self-driving cars. In the case of electric vehicles, changes in hardware mean a switch from internal combustion engines to batteries, while in autonomous cars, changes in software allow control to be transferred to the car. Since autonomous driving is the foundation of future cars, many automotive and IT companies are actively engaged in development. For 5 years, AMZ, the largest e-commerce company in the United States, owned 41% of the shares, while Korea's Yunseong Motors owned 40%. Japanese electronics company Hitachi owned the remaining 19%, and their joint venture is Kairos. A year later, having suffered a setback from competitors, Hitachi sold all its shares in Kairos, and AMZ, after a lengthy analysis of the situation, also abandoned the development of autonomous vehicles. Yunseong Motors, which bought the shares sold by Hitachi and AMZ, effectively became the parent company of Kairos. Helen asks why Yunseong Motors is trying to sell Kairos now. The synergy of cooperation with IT companies that was expected when establishing the joint venture was disrupted, and at the same time, Yunseong MD, a subsidiary of the group, succeeded in developing a limited edition autonomous vehicle. Therefore, Yunseong Motors hopes to recoup at least part of its investment by selling various patents and developments of Kairos. If this happens, only the name will remain of Kairos. Terry doesn't understand what he just heard. It can be said that Yunseong Motors currently owns the majority of Kairos shares and wants to sell these shares to recover its investment. $100 million is the amount that Yunseong Motors is demanding for the shares. It turns out Eugene knew all this. They need to talk. Helen apologizes. They will go out for a while and come back. Eugene asks Terry why he made all this noise. He doesn't understand why he's so nice to Yunseong Motors. Terry doesn't want anything good between them at all. Ellie asks if there are any problems with this company. You'll have to ask Eugene about that. He asks if Ellie knows what Yunseong Motors is. She says it's the largest car company in Korea. True, but that's not all. The second largest business group in Korea, Yunseong Motors Group, has many manufacturing-related subsidiaries such as Yunxiong Steel, Yunxiong MD, and Yunxiong RT, with first, second, and third-tier partners within their affiliates. It is a vast manufacturing empire centered around the Yunxiong Motors Group. This boastful Korean company ranks 5th in the world in the automotive industry. She is also the reason for the destruction of Eugene's family. The shock that directly triggered his father's death was caused by Yunxiong Motors. Eugene's father was the director of a small metal parts company with 10 employees. And one day he was informed that Yunxiong Motors would be using their new suspension, the device that connects the wheels to the car body. This is an integrated suspension that Eugene's father researched for many years and successfully patented. The product is excellent, but they received an expert opinion that it needs some modifications to fit into the new model. The product will be included in new Yunxiong Motors models, and it is being improved, so they would like to continue receiving new samples. The superior technology of this suspension needs to be presented at the head office. It is unknown whether such a small plant will be able to cope with the quantity they need, but they will try. Eugene's father told his wife that they needed to significantly increase production capacity to meet Yunxiong Motors' requirements. If they complete the assigned tasks, debts and difficulties will quickly disappear. After some time, it turns out that Yunxiong Motors terminated the contract. They provided them with all the newly developed samples in accordance with the requests for production expansion. It looks like they created a copy of the product based on their samples. And they are already producing it. It looks like they even applied for a patent earlier. Yunxiong Motors had this plan from the very beginning. Eugene's father collapsed and died without ever waking up, leaving the family mired in debt. Ellie wonders if this is really possible. If they suffered damages due to the unilateral termination of the contract and the theft of technology, they can receive compensation. Any foreign lawyer will tell you this. Ellie is well versed in the law, but knows little about Korea. It's extremely rare for a small business to defeat a large company in a patent dispute. Even if this long and difficult battle is won, a conflict with Yunxiong Motors, which dominates the domestic market by 70%, is tantamount to a death sentence in the automobile market. That's not all. They are undermining domestic demand and are also notorious for treating consumers like idiots. Eugene suggests talking about business. Even putting aside the emotional issues, Helen is against it. It's stupid to buy an asset that both companies are about to abandon for $100 million. And besides, Kairos has no track record or products to release immediately. Eugene asks if 100 million is a reasonable figure. It's cheap compared to the money spent on buying the shares, but they won't even get 50 million from selling the patents and core technology, so they're asking for twice that. The remaining investment amount is $120 million. Ellie doesn't understand why Eugene chose Kairos. The risk is high, and there must be a reason why Yunxiong Motors is trying to sell them. Terry is categorically against it. Only Yunxiong Motors will benefit from this, and they will not be able to invest in other companies, so everyone is against it. Eugene chose companies based on foresight, not numbers. And of course, without knowing this, Helen and Ellie voted against him. But Terry refuses, even knowing everything. Helen thinks it's best to decline, but her role is to consider options and offer advice. Eugene makes the final decision. After all, he is the CEO of OTK Company. In fact, he doesn't want to see Yunxiong Motors happy either. If they tell them they are going to buy $100 million worth of shares, they will be in high spirits. Common sense dictates that it is better not to invest in such companies. They do not have much money left to invest, and there are many other good alternatives. This would have been a reasonable choice, but Foresight gave a completely opposite answer. Reality and Foresight contradict each other. Eugene says we need to meet with the CEO of Kairos. Ryan Gates says it's difficult. They came because he couldn't due to his schedule. It will be difficult for the director to come to Korea. At this stage, it is necessary to carry out detailed coordination regarding investments, and their circumstances must also be taken into account. This is a $100 million business. Meeting with the CEO can't be an unreasonable request. If they miss this time, they will have to look for another investor. Helen is not speaking as a trusted person. This is an official request for a meeting from the CEO of OTK Company. If so, they will contact him. Ryan asks, when is the best time to set a date for the meeting? Since they have already discussed everything, they can afford to be a little more stubborn. It's Eugene's decision, so Terry won't say anything else. But he's unsure if everything is okay. Eugene assures him that everything is fine. He thought about it all night. It was unclear whether it was right to involve Kairos, handing over $100 million to a company that uses others as it pleases, and then mercilessly throws them away when they are no longer needed. And suddenly an idea came into his head. Meanwhile, Kairos CEO Daryl Sagan arrives. Perhaps the premonition was trying to convince Eugene that it was just a measly $100 million. It advised him to take them from Yoonseong Motors because they would become something more.